Brady Prosen, present.
Portion of the former Neil present.
Molly Cunningham, present.
Neil Shank.
Perfect. Give me just 1 second. I don't think we had anybody that did public comment. So then we'll move it over to our celebrations.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. We'll like divide this part out of the recording. Hey.
Good morning.
It's close enough. It feels like beautiful bench and lanyard and all right. So we have several celebrations. It has been a really eventful last few days, especially last week for that. So Whitlark, did you have a couple of these or are all these coming from Nikki? I don't mind.
We had pre-K open house. This was right in the August, beginning of September, and this is our second year to do it. It's just a really sweet time where our kids lead our families around to show them 9 different places in the school. And they get bingo stickers when they go to each place. And it's just a really sweet time for the families, for the kids to take the ownership. Like, come on, showing you the library. Come on, showing you the STEM room. We're going out to recess. We're going to go to the classroom and look at centers. And it's really, really sweet. So we had, I think, do you remember 31 families that came? Yeah, I think about half of our pre-K families came. We also had high schoolers that helped us make that and a success. So we got some extra hands on that, but it was really pre-K family. So we'll continue to do that. I think that families have really enjoyed that. And kids at the end of the night, when they turned in their bingo cards, they got to take a book left over from the years. Also, we had Read with a Grand Friend, which was really sweet. It was in the Waco Trib a couple of days later, but this is our 3rd year to do it. We've done everything from grandparents breakfast to grandparents lunch, and we eventually have started doing Read with Grand Friend. And that's been a really sweet time. So we do an hour at Llewellyn, and an hour in the afternoon at MacArthur. And it's just been a good time for some grandparents come, but we also have some people who are like community members and our grandparents, and they just want to come and meet the kids. And so it's just a sweet time for them to have some reading.
I told my mother, I said, what are you doing on this date? And she was like, I don't know. I said, you're going to read to kids. And she was like, I am. And I'm like, yes, you're a grandparent and you're going to make some new grandbabies. So go read to kids. She had a ball, an absolute ball. She left. Everybody heard about it for multiple days. Matter of fact, I bet if you still sit to talk with her, she's going to bring up the other day when she went and read to the kids. It was wonderful.
38 families at pre-K open house.
Oh, more than half. Awesome. So this was from high school. So Meyer High School participates in blood drives, and you'll even see it at graduation. The kiddos have blood drive donor cords that they have. And so Charter Blood Care gave back a $500 grant to because we did the blood drive, but they can use it for student activities, student training or things like that. So typically that is related to how often, how much involvement, really kind of the give back for the kids donating and the staff donating. So once again, they partnered back with the high school this year. Rock the Block was amazing. Yep. If you didn't get a chance to come, every year I say it's our biggest yet. And again, it was our biggest yet. We had a new MC this year, so I wasn't able to be there for the entire event. So Jennifer took over and did such an amazing job. They said she's handling it from all this time in the future. T-shirts went instantly out. SJ Menifee was the one that organized it and just did a phenomenal job. We had more prizes and more booths and more community partners and more special things to do. And people have asked for more food to be available, but the pizza came and left. really fast. The t-shirts came and left really fast. Popcorn left really fast. Water bottles left really fast.
24 cases we gave out, everything from a Nintendo Switch to Razer, scooters, and I mean, they were, it was a lot, the YMCA did.
Jennifer was selling today and celebrating today, and she said like a bazillion people. And so in my notes, I wrote a bazillion people actually showed up. But it's
true.
I will tell you, it felt like that while I was there. And then I know people were just pouring in even as I was stepping out. So it was really great. Our facilities crew prepping for it and cleaning up after it. All of the volunteers and the student clubs and the administrators and the teachers that were there, lots of like brand new teachers. This was their first engagement activity that they participated in. So it was just, it continues to be a thing. We have to invest a little bit of money in it because the t-shirts don't come free. But the rest of it is really provided by community partners and donors. And it's just a tremendous thing we do here. The line for t-shirts went way past the fountain out to the curb before we even started handing them out. So essentially, if you weren't in line when we started handing them out, they were already gone by the time you got to them. It was pretty crazy, but still such a great thing. This week, just Monday, which was just yesterday, which is crazy. We had Representative Curry come walk through the district. And so his timeline didn't let him go through every building and every campus. So he went to pre-K K1, so to the Fluellen campus. He stopped in kindergarten and read a book or part of a book. He picked the Places We Will Go, which as we know is a deep thinker book. And these were kindergartners. But he took that and related back to them and talked to them about elected officials and using their voice, and that he makes his decisions based on what's best for them, for kids and for the future. Then we walked him through our math and science building and talked about STEM and science and engineering. Walked through the high school, toured around Raven Court, thanked him for his support of facilities funding for charter schools across Texas, and then talked about all of the other things that we do and provide here. And then we ended up over at Triple Win. He is an entrepreneur by nature and by career since he was 12. And he was blown away by Rapoport Academy as a district. I just kept talking again and again about how amazing this place is. He had a lot of opportunities for us to kind of correct some thinking in charter schools in general, in Rapoport Academy specific. So it ended up being a really, really positive visit. And one of the things I didn't know is several years ago, he had kind of taken a kiddo underneath the swing for a couple of years, helped him get a car, helped him finish up high school. And that kiddo is now a successful citizen in the community. Hasn't gotten any trouble or done anything else. And come to find out, that kiddo was a graduate here. And so lived with Representative Curry while he went to school here and finished up his last little bit here. And so he had lots of really great things to say and was just blown away by our staff and their responses. He got really jazzed about win time. So that intervention time that we do at elementary, he asked several follow-up questions about that later. It was a really cool visit to see him. And along with him was a representative from the Texas Public Charter School Association. And it was a person who hadn't been up to our campus yet before. And he said, everybody said at the end of it, he was like, everybody said, you got to go to Rapoport. You got to go to Rapoport. They're the ones that do it. They're like, you got to go there. And he said, now I understand. He said, honestly, if I could ask anybody to come and give a lesson, give a presentation on how to do a site visit, how to do outreach, and how to walk somebody through, it would be you guys, and it would be your campus leaders that walk through with us. And so it was a great opportunity to really showcase. One of the things I love about it is we walk through and it doesn't feel like a dog and pony show. We just walk them through what we do because we're so confident in what we do every day is so high quality and so engaging. That was one of the things that the representative from the Public Charter School Association, he said, we peaked in all sorts of classes. And I saw kids engaged, and I saw teachers engaged, and I saw learning, and I saw smiles, and it didn't feel forced. It just felt like this is what you were doing, and we just got to see it. And I said, yeah, that's how we do things here. We don't do special things. And so it was a really, really cool visit. Matter of fact, Representative Curry loved what he saw so much. He was disappointed that he didn't have more time, so he could have gone to MacArthur and seen the STEAM basement and to walk through Fifth and Middle School to see what we do there. And then he wants to come back and bring a couple of his business collaborators in the community to come back in and talk about like Triple Win and what we're doing there and how we can pull more businesses, more entrepreneurs in to what we're doing there. So it was a really cool experience for both Texas Public Charter School Association to walk through and also Representative Curry to come visit us. So if you haven't seen his social media, I think they posted out, but our kindergarten kids wrote thank you notes to him. And he sent me a text message that afternoon, and they're like all over his desk where he had opened them and read them and looked at them, and they're just spread out. And he said, this is why, is what he texted back, you know, for all those things. So it was just a really cool day. Celebration. So our Hispanic Heritage Celebration, Thursday, September 18th. That's this Thursday, if you're tracking your calendar, from 5:30 to 6:30 at the multipurpose building. We'll have student art. We have activities at 5:45. We're going to have a quince walk. So we've got several ladies that'll be in their dresses that are going to come model them for people that are coming to the site. So we're really excited about celebrating all of our families, but now a majority of our families at Rapoport Academy actually are of Hispanic heritage. And so we're really excited to be able to celebrate them once again. So that's on Thursday. As we talk about last month, there's lots of things that the state has now kind of dictated that we celebrate and talk through. So September is Hydrocephalus Awareness Month. If you're not aware of that, there's some information about that. We'll also link this in our board celebrations that we share out. And then on September 11th, it's officially Texas First Responders Day. Because of our new speakers here at secondary, we had a really cool remembrance where Tyler was able to go across the entire secondary campus at the same time and do a talk and do a readout. And we did some posts on social media with that, if you saw that. But it's a neat way to use the speaker system that we initially intended for like emergency response to be able to use for like consistent communication and messaging across the district. We also have Constitution Day, which is September 17th. So in all of the appropriate classes where there's conversation about constitutions, we will talk about that on September 17th. And we also have Celebrate Freedom Week. So the week in which September 17th falls, so that's where we talk about the sacrifices made for our freedom, the founding of the country, the values. The week in which September 17th falls is Celebrate Freedom Week in public schools. So this is kind of our formal district-wide Celebrate Freedom Week announcement. And then we will build that into either morning announcements or morning meetings, or it's built into the curriculum around the same time frame. And then American Indian Heritage Day is the last Friday in September. So this year it's the 26th. It is American Indian Heritage Day in recognition of the historic, cultural, and societal contributions American Indian communities and leaders have made to this state, specifically to Texas. So those are our required observances for the month, as noted by the state. Any questions or anything? Lots of really cool stuff happening at Rapoport Academy, like lots. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. Consent agenda items.
Thank you.
Be the next one.
Yes,
Yep.
consent agenda items.
So the minutes, financials, and enrollment were in your drive.
Mhm.
If anybody had any questions. Okay.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. And then we'll move on to the parent representative. Ms. Olvera, do you have anything?
Yeah, a couple of things.
Okay.
So last 2 weeks ago, I got contacted by a parent. She was having some issues with her kid, behavioral issues.
Mhm.
And he was suspended for a couple of days for, I think it was kind of like a probation of barrel or something like that. The thing is that she didn't know that she was, I want to say desperate, but she was very, she didn't know what to do. She said that she tried everything. It's a weird age. It's middle school. We all know what we're talking about. And they tried everything at home, and then she didn't feel the school was supporting her enough, but she didn't use those words. But she was afraid that eventually the kid could kick out of the meeting. And so I got in contact with, I told her about our counselor. She didn't know we had a counselor, which to me was surprising. I called Miss Katrina Thomas, and then she took the away from that, she got in contact with the, um, new student. And I think
You took it from
that
there.
I should leave like that. That's
great.
That was my part.
That's great.
I did call her today. She feels much better about it. She said that tomorrow the counselor called her and they talked a little bit about things at home, whatever. And she was going to start pulling up the kiddo for some conversation. And but she said that after that, kind of like the teachers were knew that she was actually trying to
Oh.
work through this. So apparently I guess she feels better and she feels more supported by the teachers and everything. She said that they're gonna start tomorrow, getting the kiddo out for a couple of conversations with the counselor. So I think it was a good thing. I'm gonna kind of check with her in a couple of weeks and see how things are going. Like, I don't wanna know exactly
Yeah.
details, but know if she's getting the support that she needs, and if not, then we go from there. So that was one thing. And the other thing is that I was talking with a parent, which is also faculty in MacArthur. We have, well, we all know that we have Chef Nate working with us now.
Yeah.
So he wants to see how we can get the families and parents more involved. Maybe get like survey out and try to get like what he's trying to come back, bring, I guess, remove the stigma of cafeteria food and bring more fresh food, homemade, things like that. But he wants to have more feedback from parents and family and even the kiddos, what they want to eat, what they would like to see, maybe getting some ideas, offering some options of salads, things like that. I'm very big on that, so I think it's great. I told him that he can come to the board, but this happened last week at the end of the week, so it was kind of like a last minute thing.
Sure.
But I'm gonna try to follow up with that and see if he wants to come on one of our meetings and kind of.
This parent?
No, the.
Chef. Oh,
Chef.
yeah, he'll come do a food service update.
Yeah, okay.
That's great.
And but yeah, this parent, she's also very interested on trying to get. I don't know what we need to do, but I don't know. Try to get families involved when it goes to food. And the other thing is that back in the day, I wasn't Rapoport back then, but apparently before COVID, we used to have like a basket with fresh fruit, especially on secondary campus. So we're trying to see what we can do to bring it back and to all the campuses. I can help with that. I would love to lead, and I know a couple of parents that can help. I know that we cannot use school funds for that, but we can even talk with local grocery stores and see if we can get donations like, I don't know, 2-3 bags of apples a week. And then parents to donate bananas or things like that. Something for the kids to grab and eat fast, easy, clean, like nothing that it needs to be so involved. But I don't know what the legality is on that, so I just want to know what the board thinks about it, and if we need approval, what's the step for it? Like, I don't know what we should do, but that is something that I think, and she think that many parents would be interested in doing, and even the kiddos, just try to grab especially after athletics, things like that. I think that wasn't you probably said before it was in place, but then with COVID can.
It was, yeah. So the GEOs, the Guardian Educator Organizations, funded it at secondary, really at high school is where it was. Lower than high school, they didn't typically do that because there's like kids grabbing in the bowl kind of question marks for stuff because there's only so many fruits that don't have a peel that you take off. Oranges and bananas, basically. So anyway, yeah, I mean, that would be great. It has to be provided from outside.
Yeah.
But there's really not that many stipulations. So if like when you're meeting with the Guardian Educators, the GEO, because we're doing that district wide now, when that team meets together, I mean, that would be great. Elementary might be a little bit harder. just because you're talking about like food and how it gets to class and they don't really do passing periods and that sort of stuff. But I mean, in this building, secondary meaning or high school, that would be great. So I can get you in contact with the deans of students too. Just to, I'll kind of push through that was an idea that you wanted to talk about and have them reach out to you.
Okay.
But it was great when we had it. It stopped because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then GEO kind of fell apart a little bit and it's coming back.
For the people that I know, I'm pretty sure that they'd be interested on doing that.
Yeah, we just did a parent sign up fruit of the month. And so it was an easy lift and parents would sign up. You could do like a Google spreadsheet. Do you know who's the staff person that's going to be connected with GEO?
The deans of students.
Okay.
And I can contact HEB and try to see if I can get some. I know that HEB always dealt with things like that.
Yeah.
It would hurt.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you so much for navigating those.
I love that they reached out.
I know, that
That's
is
awesome.
so great.
And with the meal thing, what do you guys think about doing a survey or something for parents? Kids and that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, surely has Chef Nate had access to the survey results from 2 years ago?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes. So he got with Mr. Nason,
Oh, great.
who helped pull that committee together, which is one of the reasons why there's been so many changes this year already, is because he's pulled that information in from the spring. So it was 2 years ago, full year ago. So he's pulled that information forward. And then he's doing walkarounds, but he wants to press in a little deeper into families. To see like cultural influences that he can bring in, to see if there's regional influences, to see if there's other things besides just kids want nuggets, right? Okay, but what else can we bring in from that? So I think that'd be great. But he's on track to come. I think it's in November. Is food service update for here, but he'll come through and do an update for you guys.
Okay, I know that he talked with Miss Reese. I don't know if you probably know Miss Reese in Macacu. And she's the art teacher in Macacu.
Oh, she's up here now, Miss Lisa Miller.
Okay, okay,
Uh-huh.
never mind then.
She just moved over the summer.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yep.
So I guess he contacts her,
Yep.
and she contacts me.
Perfect.
And that's
Perfect. I'll make sure and get that connection too.
Isn't there a student group that was already on the high school level looking at?
That was the one she was referencing. It was like 2 years ago. Mhm.
Okay, faculty representative, Howard.
One idea for helping staff, like incentives that wouldn't be a cost, would be an athletic discount. And so the ideas were either staff get to pay student price, staff get free, or maybe we have a district-wide season pass. And the thought behind that is a teacher buys a season pass thinking they're gonna attend a lot of games. They probably won't attend all the games, so you actually end up making more money anyways. But just something to get more involvement by the teachers.
Okay, so I'm excited about that. I'll just jump in real quick. Moving to electronic ticketing. The next step that Coach Foreman has talked about wanting to do is student passes and staff passes and even family passes so that it encourages them. You already have a ticket, come to volleyball. You already have a ticket, come to soccer, right? Like just, you've already got your pass, come and be involved. But that would be the opportunity to do that discount. Really easy to do that.
The next one was just something for the board to think about in the future that other schools don't do is parental leave. And so even if you sign up for short-term disability or the hospital indemnity, it's only a third of your salary. And so if a mom has a C-section and they want the 8 weeks, well, they really have to press into the 6 weeks because costs. So that was just an idea to think more in the future. Parental leave.
And on that one, you're talking about both maternal and paternal potentially, right? Whoever needs it. Or is that specifically maternal? I just want to make
It
notes.
said paternal, but it was like the examples were specifically for maternity, just for the healing process.
That's great.
Next will be after teacher retention. Is that the extra pay? I don't want to mix them all up.
The TRA, that's the one that's a pass through from the state, straight pass through.
So we have a lot of IC sent really thoughtful letters. I made copies so if anyone at the end wants to see them.
They're really great.
Multiple sending how, because they will not get that money because they're not on the teacher scale, they feel like they have a huge role in their contributions to student achievement because they're in teacher, like how they grow, their coaching, their curriculum and professional development. And they feel like there was a lot of repeated feeling not valued now because of the pay discrepancy. And so you have some teachers that have 17 years of experience, master's degree, and they're getting paid like a 6-year teacher. Unfortunately, that's TA wants to encourage you to be in the classroom, so that works. But for the coaches we currently have and for behavior coach as well, they're just feeling like that now huge discrepancy in pay makes them feel what they do, and they feel like they have a huge contribution to the growth of the school, especially because Rapoport, a lot of our hires are people new in their career. We're not necessarily hiring extremely experienced teachers for the most part, and so it's like there is an extra amount of coaching and support for that, and so consideration. There was also along the same line staff that are not eligible for TIA, considering stipend or an increase in pay because hourly got the 1.5% raise, but then salaried non-teachers don't get that, so they're just also.
So let me clarify. Everybody got at least a 1.5%. If the teachers got TRA, and then everybody else got 1.5%. So if you didn't get the teacher retention allotment, you got 1.5%. But we can follow up afterwards if there's somebody I need to go back and clarify.
From last year to this year, just talking about our hourly paid people, because I feel like for some districts we're comparable in pay now. Like some districts will be making less going there, or you go to a bigger district like Midway, you're only making about 1,000 more depending on your experience. But for our hourly pay, let's say like a TA, we're not as comparable. And so giving an incentive like paid days off, like that wouldn't cost us anything, but it's not costing them either way. It's like they may get 3 paid days off a year, something like that, to give you an incentive for them, even though they would always be appreciated.
And then I think one of the things is, so they already get 3 paid days, and then they get the 5 holidays. The question was, that's not even 1 day a month, right? So they don't even have a personal day a month throughout the year. So that was one of the things that I had gotten to. So they must have sent it back the same way.
And I just see, as a teacher, and I know that other staff would agree, the amount our TAs do is incredible. They step in and they're not doing just sub plans, they're doing the lessons, they're doing the curriculum, that they put in a lot of effort, and they are always flexible when people are out, and they're just incredible people. So anything we can do to improve for them. I did receive a few letters from people that are SPED teachers, and they are just saying to consider a stipend. There was a letter of wanting you to have an overview of what their day looked like from someone at the high school. They would be teaching 4 different classes covering grades 5 through 8 during just 2 periods. So then their case manager for several other students, and that involved IEP documentation, monitoring their progress, supporting them, going into the classroom, intervention, as well as them doing the pushing, like when they go into with the teachers and the students. And it just went all this time. After they sent this email a week or 2 later, they wanted to update. So we were very clear they did receive a second conference. So now they have 2 conferences to catch up on work for all of these things they're doing. But most districts do a stipend for SPED, and our SPED teachers are spread very thin. And so they're asking for that consideration, which brings me to the next point of our district. If you talk about 504 plans, SPED, and our EBs is 35% of our district. And so teachers are spread very thin when you have a high percentage of SPED students in your class, but they actually need resources like a resource classroom or a life skills classroom that we don't have at elementary. And then our students aren't being served in exactly what they need because we don't have those resources. And so the just SPED needs more resources and just more people like considering resource or life skills. Because if the kid comes into Rapoport and it's life skills, which means they're how do you brush your teeth, how do you tie your shoes, and that's their plan. We don't have a life skills classroom. Or if they're in resource where they get pulled out, our SPED teachers are having to pull them out and teach them, but then also then go back into the classroom and do all their inclusion kids. And it's stretching teachers thin, but also I feel like it's not serving the students well as it could be. And that's just that is a hole.
And that's especially at elementary. So secondary now has resource and life skills, but we don't have anything fourth grade and below, which we're seeing lots more
Our
need.
increase in our population for the SPED, and it is getting, I would say, if we're talking about burnout, teacher retention, that becomes harder and harder for teachers when you're playing two roles, or harder and harder for SPED teachers who are playing more than one role.
Has that been something ever discussed? Or is there a reason why we don't have it? Or, I mean,
Yeah,
what's the
so
barrier?
finances. So
Additional staff?
we run a caseload that's currently, well, we have one that's out with illness, but it's currently kind of comparable to best practices. But what she's specifically talking about, so elementary does not have a resource room, like full resource all day long. Or like we pull out for some, but we also don't have a life skills for that. And that's full dedicated teachers, teacher salaries that it would take to do that. We respond with what kids need. We've had to find money for one-on-one staff support at elementary that wasn't in the budget, but that's what the kid needed at the moment. Secondary now does have life skills and also has full pull-out resource rooms that we can pull kids out for that one. So part of it is just money, adding staff for that. Part of it is just recognizing that those are really hard jobs at small schools because you can't compartmentalize. You're just spread so thin anyway. And so what does that work look like for them, and what does compensation look like for them? But I would say a little bit, sometimes the conversation is space. What would you think? I mean, sometimes it's space. Like at MacArthur, I literally don't know where they would go if we had a whole room that was for nothing but serving special education kiddos in a separate space. But a lot of the conversation is finances and staffing. Where do we find full people to staff a room? Because you need two people if you're going to staff a room independently with just special education kiddos, because you have to have a TA and the teacher, or you have to have, depending on what the needs are of the kiddos for that space. And so you're looking at, $100,000, $90,000, depending on what you're doing with that.
If I recall, many of these items are on our kind of wish list that we compiled with Nason.
A whole resource room is not, but SPED stipends are, and quite a few of the other ones are. And I think I'm going to talk just a little bit. I think that's kind of what Alex is saying, is like she continues to get support for the things that you guys have on your list. People wanting to make sure that they are heard and they are not forgotten and they are not set aside, so that when the chance comes for us to talk about what matters, like there's this voice that's been kind of steadily in there saying, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. Right? Wouldn't you say, Alex? It's just like, please don't forget, don't
Yes,
forget.
because that's the last one it was in very big giant letters, teacher retention. And it's a frustration in a sense because I don't think they're fully reading your updates when the email is sent of like, we discussed this, when the money comes, then we'll know how much it is, and I don't think everyone's fully reading that. So I have to respond to some of them. But this couple of staff just felt like they think there needs to be actual teacher staff input for teacher retention. And so I tried to clarify about that, because they're saying if we're not giving teachers what they're asking for and follow that with 4-day work week, childcare, higher insurance, what are we doing to keep and recruit teachers? And then talked about how TIA designation helps, but that can follow someone so that doesn't keep them here. And then they feel like fall break was a good addition, but it isn't keeping people here. So what can we do? So then I also reported to them, let them know like 4-day school week doesn't work for our families that we serve. It doesn't work for them. And that all the other things they were mentioning that teachers have asked for is on the list or on the docket for when the money does come through, we know how much that will be discussed. And so I just feel like how you were saying, because there aren't immediate answers, people feel frustrated and unheard, but it's also just the
Rightfully so.
based and like follow, like reading the updates too.
Well, and it's also hard, and I'll just speak just super briefly, it's also hard when you hear unprecedented funding increases for public schools. And then you look at the actual funding that has now been presented, and the actual funding is you get school safety money and you get only teacher salary money, and you get facilities money, and you get $30,000 for your district, right? So when you hear unprecedented and we're looking at, $600,000 in added revenue, but that $600,000 is this pocket and this pocket and this pocket, and you can only spend it on these couple of things, and none of these people can be impacted by this money. So really what you end up with is no new money except for this pocket that goes directly into teachers, which is great. Like that's great, but it doesn't help ICs or hourly or admin, or any of that sort of stuff. So
We talked last week though, so for those special ed teachers that are doing either co-teaching, they're in the classroom, so they did get
if they're scheduled for teachers, they do.
they've got, right, because they've got, so they got that, it's just a special ed stipend. That's necessary, yes, which a lot of places offer. I think it's-
The last thing I come in with is suggestion. I know that someone will always be displeased, but if there was a survey sent out to all staff saying, what are your top 2 things that you think would help with teacher retention? Because we'd have a committee, and then people just want to be heard. And so, and you could say, money does matter. Like, if not everything can be met, but we want to hear your top 2, because even if you're trying to do this overall teacher retention, like higher pay, yes, is great, but when you're in the day-to-day and you feel burnt out, that does not matter. And so you'd rather have a job that you're in, that you're not burnt out, maybe make a little less. So I feel like maybe just letting them get that voice out. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to come with a possible solution.
That's great.
Yeah.
Does the board want me to take that list of things and I can put together just a quick kind of a 1-question survey, rank them, put an other box at the bottom and send them
I
out?
would suggest letting the committee handle that, and so maybe that suggestion should go to that committee, and if the committee wants to conduct the survey, I think we would really be interested in hearing it, but
I can check and see if that committee is still active.
if it's still active.
That was the committee she's referencing is one Mr. Nason put together last year. But I can check and see. And I'll connect you with that, Alex.
And I feel like the board should have access to like that document that the teacher sent that lists a day in the life. Like we need to know what their lives are like, or things like that that are shareable, that are de-identified. Can you send that to Alexis to put in next month's board drive?
Sure.
And I think it's wonderful
If
that
you
you
just need
got
a
so
copy,
much
I'll scan it.
feedback.
Yeah, that's really incredible.
Like, way to go. You've made yourself so accessible. That's just awesome. Thank you. And I think that, Dr. Newman will speak to some of those items and kind of where we're at when we go to committee reports, which is next, actually. You want to take the lead on that?
One more
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
Yeah.
This would be sort of a major change. We talked about the instructional coaching, not keeping up. There are districts that use their instructional coaches, kind of, sometimes they call them like multi-classroom leaders, or call them something else, where they teach day, and then the other half of their day is spent doing, data disaggregation, or, they go in and they observe, they do co-teaching with other teachers. It would be a major role shift, disrupt their lives, but what I'm hearing is you get a $5,000, you get
Yeah.
$8,000 depending on your,
Almost all of ours are experienced enough. They would have got 8.
to have. It's on your goal for half the day. I mean, again, that's a big disruption, but that is a way that other, especially small places, sometimes use their instructional coaches when they can't afford to have like a full-time instructional coach. So I would assume they get the pay bump, and then you wouldn't have that discrepancy. So,
As long as they're at least half day teaching,
right,
then they got the 8,000.
so. I don't know if that's worded, somebody who's in that role or something like that. But from a district standpoint, a small district especially, you gotta cover classes. On instructional coach, so. More teachers in the classroom part of the day, they still get to do their job and they get spunk that they want to hear. So,
I'm like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe.
Thanks, Neil.
Hey. Committees,
Finance Committee.
all committees met this month.
Mhm. Amanda or Grady, do you want to take finance or?
well, I want to take one part. Dr. Newman, I think, can explain.
Sure.
But when we talked about the focus of what discretionary money is left after what all the other things that we have to have, we have to have facilities, we have to have safe, we have, those types of things. That pool is small, potentially. Well, it is. It just depends on how much.
Yeah.
The final numbers will be. But the things that brought up were again the sped stipend and these other things that are a concern. And we talked about those and what would be the best way to take the limited amount that we have with the rankings that we have to then determine. So they are ongoing conversations with it. It's our hands are kind of tied at some point with the state level until we have final numbers, but then we want to honor the requests. It's just finding a way to be able to hit as many teachers as we can, or instructional coaches or TAs or SPED or whatever that we can with that.
And I think also ensuring, one of the things you guys talk about, like ensuring the health of the district as well, right? I mean, as we approach, which we were really there, in my opinion, as we approach kind of stable, we've made it growth, right? Like here we are, this is our goal and we've made it there. That means income is stable, which means added revenue is not really going to happen, which means raises have to come out of our existing operational budget, which we don't have a lot of cushion in our operational budget. And 9 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago, the board made commitments to doing the gym and buying land and finishing it out and all that. And we knew that was going to be a little tight, right? This year that we had to bring it into live action, which it's going to be, but we knew that in the long term, it was the right thing and it would be fine once we kind of got the setup done, right? And then rolled into that. And so I think when you put all of that together, making sure that the board is making smart choices for institutional health, but also not creating big fund balances, which we're not at risk to do that right now, but creating big fund balance means money could have gone to people. So I think really balancing that is one of the things. And so I think we're in a good place, not necessarily a good place where we have lots of money that we're going to make lots of decisions with, but in a good place to feel confident about what our funding stream looks like at the October meeting. And so that was really kind of my input for you guys, is the finance committee is going to review it and really dig in deep. And then in October, we'll be able to give kind of an update of where we are. And at that point, the board can make a decision, oh, well, we've got, $80,000 difference. That's not a lot of money when you're looking at a $13 million budget, right? And so at that point, the board will be able to have kind of open conversations about what does it look like? Do we want to spend down to zero where we have no cushion if something happens? Do we want to leave a little bit? What does that look like? I think prioritizing so that we know when we do, if the state amends the budget, or if we get a big enrollment bump, we get that extra 20 students, where's that money going to go and what does that ranking look like? So I think we're just in a time where the FSP reports, so the foundation schools program, so how the state funds us, were just updated on the 11th and 12th. It doesn't include new enrollment, but the new formulas are in there. And so I was able to kind of walk through the new formulas a little bit, and the committee was able to really see, like, it really is restricted fund, facilities funding, which is restricted, but it does offset a little bit. But we've already made commitments to some of that money by doing the 1% raise, the teacher step raises, that sort of stuff. And so a lot of that money has actually already been expended that we're anticipating. And so just kind of navigating that a little bit. But October, we should be at least in a place where we feel confident that what the state is telling us is where we are. We will have submitted enrollment numbers. We have their new formula funding system, the model kind of set up. And so at that meeting, we should be able to talk about that. I'm being really transparent with the board. I will not be coming to you saying there's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you guys can choose with what you're doing. I'm going to bring you a very transparent, here's operations, here's what that looks like. If you guys tell me, go back and find more money in operations because this is what we want to do, we'll go back and we'll dig and we'll find it and we'll cancel stuff out if that's what we need to do. But that'll be really where the board has those conversations about that.
Excuse me, any consideration to the reimbursement from TIP, or is that something that 2026 will kind of open up and you don't know that?
So at this point, we have been told that TIF is not accessible at all. We did, however, receive very positive support from the now sadly outgoing city manager. And he was able to give us reimbursement on all of our fees. And he was able to, so our permitting fee, our right-of-way fee, and he was able to look at our expenses that we had to pay in to fix the stormwater system. And he is using part of his city budget to come back in and fund that. Now, we haven't seen the money yet, but he did direct one of his staffer to put the paperwork together so that it can go to council, so it can be approved as a budget change. And so that's around $70,000 total, which I'm really grateful for any support. But he was able to kind of look at it and make those things happen, even as he was making pretty massive cuts in his own budget as well. So I have still been told that TIF is basically overexpended itself. And that this project is not on the radar for that expense. However, we were able to get at least a little bit of the reimbursement and the stormwater costs. Hopefully covered. We haven't seen it yet, but hopefully.
Just as,
That's kind of facilities update too, I guess, in it. So
as a wild question that, we do have real estate, huge parcels of land
Mhm.
that I guess we needed to sell those off. Could, even though we wouldn't want to, but
Mhm. Mhm.
that would be another.
So we have two over here on this side that
Mm.
I wouldn't have a problem at all if they went over here on Taylor. And then we have one on the corner of Chestnut and Rose. I would just say the ones right here on Rose, long-term development for the school would be to actually create a unified elementary and bring it closer in proximity. And that would be a natural location to be able to really pull this district together and create a cohesive elementary. I mean, I know Miss Whitlark is not a fan of bringing the two elementary buildings together. She loves them being completely separate. But
Yeah.
but the other ones, sure. Last time I checked for those, it would be about $8,000 maybe. Because the market hasn't reached quite out that far off of them. Those are definitely things down the road that would be smart moves. Yep. So that's finance audit in a roundabout way.
Okay. And the district improvement committee?
Yeah, we went for the first time, so good to have the committee all back together.
New time, new schedule. It's great.
Yeah, very good. Looked at some of the longitudinal data that we have access to, considered some comparison schools that might be useful going forward to be able to look at our data for them and we see if there are some opportunities for improvement. Other districts that look similar to us from a demographic perspective, they've got things going that we could pull from them. We also did talk about that teacher retention report, that being something for us as a committee to keep our thumb on a regular basis, just like how is it progressing. So especially the items that are not maybe financial in nature, but there were a ton of things in there that were making teacher lives better. So if we can not only check in on the response to that, but also is it having the intended impact? There was a lot of things there. And so some of them, maybe they're not having the intended impact, about different things. And so I think as part of all that, think next month, Dr. Ellis is gonna kind of talk about some of that, with us, as well as elements. If you can, including the professional development, the P2C stuff. He's gonna be at our next meeting to kind of give us some updates on how that's going. So, other than that, did I miss anything? So just, that's kind of something that we really want to keep our eye on going forward. We do have a lot of data and we kind of think about things in that way, but we also have some very tangible data on what teachers are wanting. So help be another year for how that's going, and that'll be
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, Facilities Committee.
I'll be happy to speak. We met on August the 27th. We were last speaking about what's happened with the gym. We had the pleasure of having Coach Foreman as well as some other members from athletics on to talk about the champion wall, where we are putting our state championship team, but also historical other teams and athletes at Rapoport who've excelled. So like the first girls playoff team. There will also be motivational quotes and shout outs through social media. The wall that was selected for the Champions Wall is going to be right across from the concession area, one of the main places people kind of enter into the gym and come out during halftime or break. And there's going to be a mix of posters, banners, and wraps. So it will not look like the Raven wall when you come in, but there will be different media used to put those up. We don't have a date or a deadline yet. We were talking about when it does happen, just being able to promote things as they come in and share those out on social media, what's happening with the gym. And then we want to make sure that everything is happening on schedule, that no parts of those projects are holding up anything else that may be going on. We're sure they're not. Everything, some things were already pre-approved and other things to come based on funds that come. The welcome wall is complete.
I'll just note real quick on that, the champion wall and the motivational quotes and things like that. Foreman and Menifee are working directly together to kind of identify graphics, locations, material, pictures, that sort of stuff. So the two of them are working on not only the design plan, but also the implementation of that.
Which was great to, again, have some other people as well sit in and the call and give their perspective. Also, the achievement boards and banners were in the proofing stages when we met. So those we had already approved and should be coming for the first basketball home game, possibly November 14th. We were talking especially about handicap. I think that's one of the things that Shaquinta kind of brought to the meeting, or at least maybe even expressed before the meeting, just making sure that we had adequate handicap parking. There's some right in front of the gym on the campus side, and then there's some on the Tony Day Maria side as well. And per Dr. Newman, if there's any issue, we can always add signs to some of those up at the front, or if there's something else that we need to do permanent, we can see. But we would love to see, if those are utilized or if we need additional ones. History wall, there was a draft presented from Mr. Nason. It was nothing specific, I would say, for the entire wall, but kind of the images. We will put words in a box here. We will do a timeline from here. So it's not been finalized. We would want to look at the final proof of the graphics and the text. So we had an opportunity to look at some of it then, but not the final proof. And then the dedication plaque. I believe this was something we were bringing back to the meeting, that we would select a date that would be the composition for the board. And the reason we were looking at it, like there were members, contributors, staff, and lots of people before the actual gym came or before the groundbreaking. So on that plaque, we wanted to be sure that we had the correct kind of dedication date and those people who were active on the board. And we chose, I believe, was it the groundbreaking and not the ribbon cutting date?
That's right.
So from the groundbreaking date, our board of directors, and I'll read this, but I think this is in the drive as well. Our president, Emily Cunningham, our vice president, Rashonda Farmer Neal, treasurer Grady Croson, racially paid secretary Shaquenta Hill, Neil Shanks, Amanda Milam, and then Chris Nason, the faculty representative, and Stephanie Wee Johnson, the parent representative. And I think that's kind of where we were trying to make sure, because those positions roll off 2 in 1 year. So we wanted to be sure that we had the correct credit, I guess, for whatever that date was. And then some additional people that will be noted, our administration, our construction partners, the core values will be on there, and then some additional people that we would like to thank on a second plaque, a little bit smaller. It would be Lester Gibson, Pat Chisholm Miller, Josette Ayers, Andrea Bearfield, Dylan Meek, Bradley Ford, the alumni and administration of Paul College, Paul Jason, Josh Cleaton, Jared Gould, and Nancy Grayson. And so we were bringing the plaque information to the group to determine if the wording is correct. Is there anybody who's been left off of the secondary plaque? And to proceed, once the board says, yes, that's what we want, move forward with the plaques. Lawn and landscape is happening, trees trim, grass mowed, interior branding. Everybody's excited about the updates. Hallway painting, exterior paint is in the works for fall and spring. We've got great door numbers and new ADA signage. We were talking about future projects, the retaining wall at MacArthur. If you've been there, you know. You know. And then the signage at MacArthur, I think we realized that it said North Campus, and we wanted to remove that language from one side of town to the other and making it the MacArthur campus. Digital marquee here for the Elm campus or Raven Court, possibly. We got our badges, great. And then the reimbursement for the TIP funds for the fees and drainage costs. And we will meet again this month on the 24th.
Is that language in the drive?
Yeah, I was trying.
If it's not in the drive, I can get in the drive.
It's a run.
I'll look right.
Our running agenda.
Oh, it's in the committee. So if you go to the board drive to the committee reports, you can see the one for facilities committee. It's in there. I can send that out if you guys don't have to dig for it as well. I can send that out by email. That's not up for approval tonight. It's
I
not on
was
the
just
agenda.
gonna
That's
ask
just
you
a
when-
report for you to look at.
Be ready.
And then we would, ideally, if you have any feedback, if you'll get that either to myself or to one of the members of the facilities committee, because they really need to be able to approve it at their next meeting, facilities group does, so we can get accurate quotes, so it can come to the board for.
Just requested access.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, you should have access, but I'll make sure.
Okay, marketing and communications update.
Okay, so in the board drive just this afternoon, I dropped in, SJ really wanted to be able to give you guys a year-end wrap up on marketing touch points. But as you can see in the board celebration, she's been a little busy, over the last 2 weeks trying to get stuff running, for Rock the Block, Hispanic Heritage, and all the other things that she does on social media. So she provided you a 3-month update. In the next 2 weeks, she's going to do a year-end version of what you have for this little 3-month update, so that you can have that, and you can see touch points, you can see communication strategies, you can see all sorts of stuff. So when she sends that to you, if you would just please take a look at that, give her any positive feedback, any negative feedback, bring it to me. But any positive, good stuff, she is really phenomenally amazing at what she does. She's accepted an intern from our high school this semester. That's going really well. So anyway, that's just a little information. That's how she tracks what she's doing. She looks at that data all the time. So in the next 2 weeks, she's going to send you kind of a fiscal year end, basically all the way through the summer, with what things look like. So
Wow,
it's pretty amazing.
that's
Yep.
amazing.
It's pretty amazing.
Okay, parent and family engagement activities.
Angie, you're going to talk about parent and family engagement activities? No? Okay. That's okay. That's awesome. So, not a problem. Not a problem. I do happen to know what this one was about, so that's good. Parent and family engagement activities, we just want to give kind of a quick little update and report on the things that we're doing across the district. You heard some of those in the celebration. So we have cultural heritage events that we do, and we also do STEAM nights, we do STEM nights, we have parent and family activities on campus, like reading academies or parent academies, or we have pre-K open house, right, where the kids lead the parents through that. We also are planning on pressing in really heavy again to parent-teacher conferences this year. We want parents on campus. We're going to track it. We're going to call them if they're not here. No is not an answer. We need you here. We need you engaged with us with what we're doing. We're also doing a lot of attendance conversations. So we did pre-calls before the year started with people that struggled last year. We've already done calls again this year for people that already seem to be struggling. We have new things that we've talked about that are going to be celebrations for attendance. So we're going to pick a random day in the future. And if you show up on time, you're going to get a buy one, get one free Katie's custard card. So they've partnered with us in for that. And so good job for those people that show up on time and are bringing their kids to school, right? You don't show up on time, you don't bring your kid that day, you don't get the card. But also do other things like just celebrate every chance we get. Parents that are working really hard and doing what they can, and creating as many opportunities for engagement in academics and in learning that we can. Angie is also working with a Texas-wide group that is bringing Parent Family Engagement Conference to Waco. So she is going to be setting up, tearing down, and managing the conference as herself, as a part of Rapoport Academy and her role here, but also is really pushed to help make sure that we have access for our staff. So we're going to open it up to parents. We can pick for a couple, maybe a handful of parents to go if they want to go attend the conference. We also have our deans of students that are going to go, and we have several campus and district support staff administrators that are going to go as well. So just trying to make sure that we're really pulling for best practices and keeping parents and families engaged across the district, both at the campus level and at the district level. So that is whether it's our district-wide guardian educator organization, our student health advisory committee, the SHAC committee that we use for that, whether it's surveys, feedback opportunities, celebrations with them, attendance check-ins, like all of that different things. We do a lot.
Rad.
Oh, and Rad Dads. Yes. Like our really awesome dads program. So they have done everything from hang netting on fences to welcome kids in carpool to volunteering to do haircuts at back to school bash. It's just a really cool. I made the mistake. I walked up. I thought a kid would need a little moral support getting his haircut because he was upset. And I was like, oh, you look so good. And he was like, ah! So and the guy was like, it's okay. They always cry with haircuts. I was like, oh, sorry. Anyway, so just like we do so much to engage with families and to bring them onto campus, to try to reach out where they are. And we're continuously looking at if something doesn't work, we'll let it go and we'll bring something else on. But we're also looking at best practices out there as well. So if you ever have any ideas, please give that feedback back. We pulled we did our Title I survey, which happened at orientations this year. And so we've got that survey data that we're going to look through as kind of a superintendent cabinet to walk through the feedback for that. We'll do lunch surveys. We'll do all sorts of stuff. So that's just kind of a quick update of where we are and all the things that we do. If you have any questions about any of that, if you want to be involved in any of that, if you hear a best practice somewhere else and you're like, hey, you should think about that, or hey, what are we doing with that? We'd love to hear it. It may give us a chance to kind of maybe sunset something that isn't going as well or not pulling in as many, and instead bring on something that maybe would give a different fresh look or a different chance for maybe a different group of families to come and get engaged. So I'm really excited about the things that we do. Again, whether it's all the way from bringing the conference all the way to Waco and getting parents and staff there, to the guardian educator, student health advisory, like formal setups, to just parent-teacher conferences and celebrations like Back to School Bash. There's a lot of opportunity for people to be here and to be a part of this community. So, anything you feel like I missed in running through all that?
That's great.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Let's move to item 4.1, campus action plans.
Okay, so in your drive, you should have 2 one-pagers. You should have had one from elementary that is in there, and then you should have had a video, I think, from Dr. Ellis. Let me see where Jennifer's is.
I don't remember having any full report.
Hang on a second. Let me find it. Nope, that's not. Hang on a second. Jennifer, let me find the one you sent them.
Thanks, our initiative.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There it is.
So the first thing we pulled up was our 25-26 elementary improvement plan. We create an improvement plan every year, and this is this year's improvement plan. Based on our STAR accountability, or state accountability, for this year, we were required to submit a plan inside of our campus improvement plan. So we did not have to submit a TIP, a targeted improvement plan. They said that we only just put it inside of our campus improvement plan, which was good news. But we did put specific initiatives in here that we're doing. So I put this in there just so that you all can see this, but this one pager really breaks down for you all the new initiatives of what we're doing, and then the updated continued initiatives that we're doing in order to address the STAR scores. So at the top, it just gives an update. I know last month you guys saw specific STAR scores and saw the details of those things. The elementary earned a D and state accountability, our struggles were mainly on the math side in 3rd and 4th grade. In the subpopulations of our students and their scores, the lowest score received in special education and African American students. Our individual student growth from 3rd to 4th grade actually was pretty good. We saw increases there, which was great. And it helped us to know that some of the initiatives that we had already put into place were helping, while overall academic performance was lower than it needs to be. So we actually did better last year than we had done the previous year. But our growth trajectory is not as steep as we would like for it to be. And I will echo what Ms. Howard shared about special education. We have seen an enormous increase in our special education students that have come recently, and just to be transparent for a moment. I mean, we're talking about students who have come who've either been unschooled, never been in school, students coming into 3rd grade that should be in 5th grade who by age and came into 3rd grade not being able to write names. And so now we're putting this test on obviously a very high level.
And when you say coming in unschooled, you're not talking about pre-Kers unschooled. You're talking about advanced level elementary students, early level middle school kiddos who have been unschooled since through COVID, unschooled until today.
Just the amount of need is so enormous. And so I echo what Ms. Howard was saying. We are seeing that. And of course, when you have students coming in at that level, putting a test for as you can imagine. So that's kind of our problem statement, if we want to say. And then I just listed the new initiatives of what we're doing this year to address these things. So MAP, this is a testing platform. A lot of schools around use it. We have not used it thus far. We implemented it this year. It's a nationally normed test. And we piloted it last spring. Really liked what we saw, and so brought it on this year. It's for kinder through 4th grade. The students will take it 3 times a year. We've already done it at the beginning of the year, worked out all the kinks and the bumps that come in the road with the new testing platform. The data is immediate, so we've been able to look at that, and then we'll see it throughout the year. This is interesting platform. It not only does it give you growth throughout the year, and you can see where your students are progressing, and then there's immediate data for teachers, for administrators, but it also is a piece of it where they have correlated their data with STAR. So it will tell you the percentage, kind of the likely percentage that a student will be at a certain level in STAR. So I do think that it will help us make some more informed decisions as we go throughout the year. So that has already started this year, and something throughout the year for the M-Class and Boost. These are programs that are through Amplify, which does connect in with our curriculum at the elementary. And M-Class is an assessment program. It does a dyslexia screener as well as a reading diagnostic for students, and then there is an intervention piece. Okay? And there's Boost is an online responsive. So that's what kids can get on. We used to have Ice Station. This will be comparable to that, where students can get on and it will give them some instruction and they can play some things on it and be responsive to. So if they're struggling, it will go a little bit lower. And then if they're doing better, it will push them a little bit. So that's an online responsive program. The M class is actually an assessment program for those things at the elementary that will help us. That will replace what we used last year for Countess and Pinnell, our leveled literacy program. Obviously, you all are familiar with the Bluebonnet curriculum that we brought on this year. That's in kinder through fourth grade. In fact, today did a walkthrough with Region 12. It was our first walkthrough with them. We're walking through the LASSO grant cycle. And so we had 2 Region 12 folks with us today. Walked through classes, kinder, first grade, second, third, and fourth. At least one class in every grade level. We're able to look through that and disaggregate some of that data and really look at if teachers are implementing the curriculum with fidelity. And I'm happy to report that we had great success today with a wonderful walkthrough. And we'll continue those walkthroughs with them as we go through a few months. Also brought in fact fluency, part of the struggle that we had in math. We do think that without fact fluency, students are struggling to really be able to access their quick knowledge. She's fourth grade teacher. Their quick knowledge of math facts is getting, the lack of that is getting in the way of them being able to then do multi-concept, multi-step word problems because we don't remember what 12 times 3 is. And so you're having to deal with 12 times 3, and now you're having to multiply and divide other things and then subtract some. I mean, these questions are pretty extensive. And so we have brought on Rock in order to help with facts fluency in second through fourth grade, and have already heard some really positive things from teachers. It's very short. They just can't stay on it an extended period of time during the day. It's like, get on and you do these lessons and then it kicks you off. Like you can't just play endlessly on. So we brought that on and really hope that what that does is it takes away that automaticity, or it builds your automaticity so that that part of your brain is not where we're spending it. We need to be spending our time dealing with the conceptual work of the math. Texas lesson study was something we're also doing with Region 12, and that goes in partnership with our new curriculum. So we have a Region 12 person different from the 2 today.
They're here.
And different from these 2 that we're working with on other things. And so we've got lots of partnerships with Region 12, but every Wednesday we have a lady coming from Region 12 that's engaging our English language arts teachers in Texas lesson study. So this is really working on them internalizing this, really building their knowledge of how to do that and how to do that well so that what they're turning out to students is the best educational product. And then the last one that's a new initiative for us is Wonder Workshops. This is Miss T's brainchild. She is always our box thinker, comes up with brilliant things every year. And this is doing 2 things for us. One, it's buying 2 days of planning days for teachers, 2 additional planning days for our teachers. The entire team on a grade level, plus our instructional coaches, will have the day to do lesson planning, to do internalization, to do data disaggregation, really to dig in what's happening. And while they are doing that, their students are going to get extended time in art. And we're going to have 4 blocks for the entire day. So it's like an hour and a half, closer to 2 hours of art, of STEM, of technology, and then some social emotional lessons from our counselor. So they'll have four like right under 2-hour blocks of time where kids are doing really engaging, extensive work. It's both. This is not a time to do intervention. This is a time for extension. Like do really fun hands-on activities. Triple Win is going to be involved, as well as having some high schoolers come and give us some extra hands on deck. So this will be really helpful for teachers in giving them some time back in order to plan and prep for what's needed for kiddos. And it will also be great for kids. So some continued and updated initiatives. Win time. Dr. Newman referenced that earlier whenever Representative Curry was on campus. that's what I need time. It's an intervention time. And last year we had it once in grade levels K-4. And so we had to pick for kids. We had to kind of draft them. You're either going math or you're going English language arts. Can't do both. And then we would never would meet on them. We'd have to switch out what's our biggest need right now. So we can't do both. This year we this team worked out the schedule where we have 2 blocks a day. So they get a math block, and they get an English language arts block. So every kid can get extension activities or intervention activities. That's what I need time for both of them to do. We really do think that that's going to be beneficial. And then attendance, we're continuing to press in with attendance. We're closely monitoring that. We are using truancy to discuss this with parents. We are walking through the measures if we needed to go to truancy court. I hope we don't have to. But we're putting the things into place that if we do, that we're actually holding parents accountable.
This is one of the first times we've actually used that legal word. It just hasn't been a thing we've driven into before. And this year we said we can't afford. We can't afford five or less. That's the number of days we need kids to miss it a year. 5 or less. More than that, and it becomes a problem.
We're still going to do all of our celebrations. The additional one that we're going to add is family baskets because we've done a lot of student celebrations, Jump for George and doing all this stuff for kids. But we want to acknowledge that, especially at elementary, the kids aren't getting to school by themselves. It's the families.
All the way through middle school.
So if kids have perfect attendance, it's because their parent is like, get up, let's get going. So we are going to build some family baskets, and every quarter we're going to draw names and give a family basket to a parent. Say, thank you, look, for getting your kid here because they are not driving themselves. So we're just trying to add in as many things as we can in that way. So this is kind of where we're at new initiative wise, and then our continued updated initiatives in order to address where we are in the state. The needs of kiddos. And to meet the needs as well. I think that the things that we've done hopefully will also support them. Questions about all of these? Really fast. Yeah.
Quick question. On all the workshops, you say that you may get some high schoolers involved. We thought about some parents getting involved too, and about.
We did, yeah, we talked about it because, you know, obviously the people that are having the kids during that time are special teachers, and Triple Win is coming over to support as well. Our counselor will be some. And we talked about whether we need parents involved with that as well, because we're going to bring student ambassadors over and we can something. I think we already have all the dates planned for the year. And so we have our first one, I think in maybe a week and a half. And so what we were going to do is right, they're going to get the first one, see how it goes. And if we need more hands on deck, they are next time to see how we can get parents, because I think parents would love it, honestly.
That's
Now and half an hour.
and that will go to, and you don't need to be trained on anything specific to do something like that, just to show up and be there. And I know that not everybody can do it, and the ones that can do it, they would really enjoy it.
No, thank you for that reminder.
Including that.
For sure. For sure. So we did talk about that. We wanted to just walk through our first ones, kind of iron out the issues that come and the kinks in it, and then
Ms. Furlick, I had a board member ask me a question about data, like when we look at, I was talking about your MTSS process with your admin team, with your leaders, with your teachers. Would you just quickly go over like just the big categories of data you look at, and then how often you're actually looking at that data? Because it's really frequent.
for MTSS or
Well, MTSS, et cetera. But that is one that I know for sure that you guys document, schedule, track, like you have a spreadsheet that you're running through that. So just big categories and just kind of frequency of looking at individual kid level data.
sure. So it depends on the type of data. So MTSS meetings we have quarterly. And so we are specifically looking at that data, which is we pull
Multi-tiered student support.
systems of support.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's our, basically it's the state's way of making sure that that schools are catching every kid and addressing their needs as they come. And so we do have those meetings once a quarter where we're looking at everything from attendance to grades to CL stuff if they're seen by the counselor. We look at their at-risk codes.
Mhm.
Kind of all of these pieces that we bring together to make sure that teachers are building plans for these students. That's on a very high level. And then, of course, as the data triples down, like for me, when we're talking about attendance, I meet with my deans of students. It's about once every 3 weeks. And we're digging into attendance. Okay, let's talk about what has happened in the last 3 weeks. Let's look at data. Or have you talked with this family? Do we need Ms. Thomas to reach out to this family? Those sorts of things. Ms. T is meeting with her deans of academics every 2 weeks. And they are digging into student data. They're digging into teacher data. They are looking specifically at teacher support and what they need. And then our instructional coaches have weekly meetings with teams to look at lesson plans for the next week and then not every week they're digging into data with them, but pulling in data into those discussions as well. And so it depends on the piece of data and where that frequency, but
Mhm.
we attempt to look at data in every which way from every direction as often as needed so that we can respond.
And what I really wanted you to pull out is that we look at way more than just what are their grades or how did they do on a test. We're looking at a wide variety of indicators for kids because any one of those can show early signs of struggle, which maybe we can intervene faster and maybe we can catch things quicker because maybe it's a family situation that is happening that's impacting academics and we can help intervene before we get there. Maybe it's family need, maybe it's social and emotional, maybe it's community support, maybe it's academics, but lots of data very frequently and then collecting it all together very structurally kind of as we move along too. It's pretty impressive when you sit down and talk about all the data.
Any other questions?
Is the map that's gonna be the like November, February benchmark that you'll use in your improvement plan, or is that set?
No, that'll be, we pull down the state test from last year
Oh,
and use those for benchmarks, like pull them.
okay.
MAP is a much shorter assessment, though what I do appreciate about MAP is that they have done linking studies with STAR. And we actually, the other day, Angie and Lauren and I were looking at MAP data and looking at kids from last year, looking at where they are this year compared to what it predicted them to be at last year. And it was pretty spot on from what we saw. They were like, oh, there you go. That tracks with where the kid performed, what it said the kid would do. So I do think it will be helpful for us to be able then to really press in with specific kids. We go, but the benchmarks are really STAR test.
So, but you say it's shorter, so maybe it won't, like you don't have to shut down campus for the morning to do that, or?
No, I mean, we tried to do it during wind time, because that's when multiple people are in a classroom. It was longer than that, so a wind time might be from 20 to 30 minutes. Probably they would have needed, I mean, ideally, we would probably set aside an hour. They knock it down in an hour.
No.
An hour. Benchmarks are gonna be, we're set aside.
Well, that's what in my head, I'm like, we're doing
4 hours.
3 of these plus your multiple benchmarks. then
Those are
much more time.
And MAP is K4, whereas benchmarks just 3.
I do just want to note there's also recently a lot of conversation about new STAR assessment and partial stars and pieces of stars and all of that. And there's a bit of a misunderstanding out there. So if you haven't looked at it and done your research for that, I strongly encourage you through. In a recent conversation with an elected official, the comment was made, well, you don't have to worry about STAR anymore. And we were like, what? So just, we are still waiting on advice and direction from that because we cannot get clear answers anyway for exactly what that's going to look like and how that's going to impact us. So we're holding our judgment on any of that, but it has not gone away. It is amplified in some ways. So anyway, just stay tuned on that sort, just in case you were wondering about STAR. So thank you, Ms. Whitlark.
Thank you so much. Yeah, really.
Dr. Ellis cannot be here. He is actually out of state. So I am going to, this is in your drive. So if the sound doesn't work really good or anything like that, it's kind of, I couldn't link the document directly into the drive. So if you go to your drive to the September agendas, items for September, it's linked in there.
Hello, board members. I appreciate the opportunity to come to you today and talk about the accountability plan of action we have at Quinn Middle School. Quinn Middle School is one of 2 campuses that I oversee on our district, and I want to be able to highlight for you the things that we have in place in order to ensure that we are achieving the goals that we need to and earning those public-facing results that we know we deserve to earn. There's a lot of hard work happening here at the middle school campus, and we want to make sure that our accountability results reflect that as well. So we received our results for 2025 just a few weeks ago, and we've been disaggregating a lot of data to understand where we have been and where we need to go. So I want to start with a problem statement for our campus. Quinn Middle School earned a D in state accountability with struggles particularly in math performance and reading growth. We've seen some improvements in our math scores year over year, and growth has been positive, but because we've seen so significant gaps in math over the last several years, the performance is still just lower than it needs to be. And unfortunately, last year, our reading scores saw some decline, and so our growth in reading year over year, students in 5th grade and then moving into 6th grade, the comparison scores for in their reading tests were just not where they needed to be. We also need to focus in domain 3, which is closing the gaps for 2 particular groups, our Hispanic students and our special education students. And so we're making those a priority through the interventions that we're putting in place. So let's look at the goals, the aggressive goals I think we've set for this year and some of the interventions we have in place to meet these goals. First, let me highlight for you goals that we have set as a campus. Here's 3 years of data. As you recall, we've received 3 years of data in the last few months. In 2025, we earned this D, a 68. Our aggressive goal for this school year is to increase to a 78C, 10 percentage points overall. And we're going to do that by putting most of our emphasis on the place that we've seen our highest score, which is academic growth. And let me explain why very briefly. We believe that when we set goals for every individual student to improve their achievement in math and reading, that will impact so many other areas. Every student needs to grow, and when we focus on growth, we'll see improvements in student achievement, we'll see improvements in closing the gaps. While we are going to be focusing on all student growth, we are going to be looking at data and disaggregating that data to focus on those couple of priority areas of Hispanic students and our special education students who are considered in a group that's called high focus. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes when we look at the closing the gaps goals. So overall a 78, but our most aggressive goal is this increase in academic growth, which is domain 2. In academic growth, we want to see us move from a 70% to an 80%, from a C to a B. This would be our highest score and allow us the most leverage across all of our areas. I'm going to dig in for just a minute into each of the 3 domains and goals we have set within those, but I'm going to go through that pretty quickly because I want to spend the rest of the time I have with you talking about the interventions we have in place and the strategies we're taking this year to achieve these goals. So you'll see here domain 1 goals. Domain 1 is STAR test and student achievement. In middle school is just STAR testing only. We want to see us go from a 67D to a 75C. Our goal here is to see a C, and we're going to do that by focusing on growth. When we focus on growth, we believe we can achieve goals in reading, math, science, and social studies in all 4 grade levels, 5th through 8th grade. So in green are highlighted the specific goals at approaches, meets, and masters in reading, math, science, and social studies. You have a handout that'll have these so that you can review these more closely. But I just wanted you to see that these are aggressive goals. More than 10% points are our goals in all of the approaches grade level. We see smaller growth goals in meets and masters, but that's also because we've seen a really important improvement at meets and masters. That's where we want to spend our energy, is that students are meeting and mastering grade level, not just approaching grade level, but we have goals set at all 3 levels. Now let's look at domains 2 and 3. Domain 2 is, like I said, where we're putting most of our energy and effort as a campus. I want to see us move from a 70 to an 80 and be achieving a B score by prioritizing every student's growth. Students should be growing from one level to the next level. The Texas Education Agency outlined 6 performance levels. I already highlighted the approaches, meets, and masters, but they're actually broken down a little bit more. There's a low did not meet, high did not meet, low approaches, high approaches, and meets and masters grade level. And we want to see students move up one level. If they are at low did not meet grade level, we want to see them at high did not meet grade level this year. That way we can move those 1 achievement levels year over year and see all of our students make growth. In domain 3, which is closing the gaps, there's 4 different areas that were scored, but we're putting our emphasis on one of those areas, which is about academic growth. It's the student's growth status, and that we want to see measuring growth for all students, for our Hispanic students, and for our high focus students. High focus is an area that the Texas Education Agency outlines for Rapoport. Those groups are economically disadvantaged students, our special education students, our emergent bilingual students who are served in our ESL program, English as a second language. And there are some other student groups that are a little bit smaller that are not as much of an emphasis. But the high focus includes our special education student goals. And you can see that we have growth goals that 70% of all of our students in reading are meeting their growth goals, 65% of Hispanic students, and 65% of our special education students and other high focus groups. Now, those are the goals. How are we going to get there? So let me give you that with just a few bullet points about some strategies we have in place. I already told you we're focusing on academic growth as the primary way that we're going to move the needle at Quinn Middle School. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that through a few specific strategies. We're using what we're calling checks for understanding, or CFUs. These are happening at the end of unit in all of our math classes. We're focusing in some targeted areas in reading and in science. And what this allows our teachers to do is to check students' understanding at the rigor of the STAR test with TEKS-aligned short assessments. They're really bite-sized, so students can do them as a part of the instruction that's happening in class. And teachers use that data multiple times throughout the quarter in order to respond to what students understand and what they don't understand. And that can impact the way that they do reteaching and spiraling information back into the instruction. But this helps us to respond more quickly and make the learning process authentic. This is what great teachers do. They check for understanding regularly and they respond. And so we're using these assessments that our instructional coaches are supporting teachers to create, to implement, and to look at the data. We are going to continue our quarterly assessments. We've had those for a number of years, but we're going to make sure that this year quarterly assessments are cumulative. That means that at the end of the first quarter, all the material they've covered for the first quarter is on that assessment. But when they end the second quarter, it will be cumulative for the first semester, all the material they've learned in the fall semester, and allows us to have a better understanding of what students are retaining quarter after quarter and starts to mirror more of what we see on the STAR assessment. Beyond those quarterlies, we want teachers to be really aware of what goals that we're setting for students for their growth. I said every student will have a growth goal, and so teachers are going to help set those individual growth goals and help monitor that every quarter. So we'll review how much students are making progress towards those goals for end of year on STAR. We're going to go over that with students. So student growth will be reviewed every quarter, and each student is going to be a part of tracking their progress towards those goals. We're not just going to have teachers looking at the data, but we want students to be doing this. Now, I want to pause for a second and tell you, this does not mean that with students and staff, all they're going to hear us talking about is STAR. This is us talking about assessment data. Quarterlies are not STAR. CFUs are not STAR. We want to align them to the rigor of the STAR assessment, but we are making sure that we're talking about assessment data. Students know where they ended the year last year, and then they set these growth goals for where they need to be at the end of this year, and then we're tracking that progress with teachers, but students are also going to be doing that so that they have stake in this process. They have buy-in. They understand what they're trying to achieve and how close they are to achieving it. The last thing on this list is something we are extending from a strategy we put in place last year for our fifth grade. We're moving that up to our sixth graders. And last year, fifth graders, we adjusted the master schedule to allow our fifth grade students to have more time in their core subjects, math, science, social studies, and English language arts. We moved fifth grade from a 50-minute period to about a 70-minute class period so they could have more time on foundational skills. And we saw really good results in that. Fifth grade made growth year over year in math and reading last year in most areas. And so we're extending that into our sixth grade this year and including that as a strategy for this school year. It's a lot for us to work on, but we're excited about this work so that we can achieve the goals that we've set. I want to thank you as a board for your support of me as an administrator and the work that our campus does to support Quinn Middle School students to achieve their goals. We're not a D kind of campus, and so we want to make sure that the state accountability reflects the work we're doing as a campus. I will certainly be available via email or at the next board meeting to answer questions. Mrs. Whitlark and Dr. Newman can also address some of the questions you may have. We're looking forward to a good year and achieving some really great results. Thank you for your time.
Okay. So I know Tyler and Jennifer have really worked hard to mirror. So the data conversations we have at one level, we're having at the second level. Jennifer's kind of taken the lead on some different setup for interventions, like win time, like some of the teacher planning time. Tyler has switched that to grade level team meetings and to lab classes. So specific classes built into a student's schedule that are prescriptive for what that kiddo needs for that, whether it's that 9 weeks or whether it's that quarter, or that semester. So they kind of handle them in developmentally appropriate ways, but in different ways. And then we have a math interventionist that keeps her own caseload at the secondary campus, and she's really focusing in on middle school. And that's one of the things at secondary is it's middle school, middle school, middle school. Not forgetting high school, of course. High school has some systems set up in place that are working really well, but really looking at middle school, middle school, middle school. He strategically placed teachers, new hires in middle school. In some of those areas where we tend to struggle, even historically, not just even recently, and that. So a lot of really good things happening at those campuses. Do you have any other questions?
We get a full improvement plan for when?
Yes. Yep. I'll drop that in the drive. And then he also is doing a similar one pager just to highlights. He was working on that before he left town, and I didn't receive it before he left town, but I'll make sure to get that to you guys as well. We also had the improvement plan in the summer, but I think there's been a couple of updates, so I'll make sure that you get the most updated one.
Staff get the one pagers with the board update.
Again?
And I pass it along as.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be in the video too. So if they want to watch it, that'll come through in the video as well, if they watch the board meeting as well. I'll just put a note to just, I don't have Tyler's yet. That's okay. I don't have Tyler's yet, but I will make sure when I get those that I'll send them to you so you can even communicate that out.
I just have a question. So then, well, I guess two questions. One, when will this be reevaluated? This time next year to see how this past year worked with all of that?
So the campuses / district, we evaluate those periodically throughout the year. But really, there's two alignments with that. One of them is kind of that other data that runs along, and then there's state assessment. And so we'll evaluate other data as we go along, and then we get state assessment data, and then we make kind of big shifts and movements if we need to make big shifts and movements from that. So it'll happen about this time every year.
Got it.
But we do checks and balances all along the way to see what's working. Is it moving the needle? Are we making changes in individual kids' growth patterns? And we look at whether it's maybe their attendance is bad. Are we improving that? Maybe it's behavior that's been a problem. Are we improving that? Maybe it's academics that are low. Are we improving that? Maybe it's benchmark data. Are we improving that? So depending on what metric we're looking at is the way that we're tracking that kiddo.
And how often is the board typically updated with the results of that?
So of the student specific
Yes.
data, it
Is that
depends.
not really anything that we need to be concerned of?
Well, I think
I don't want to overstep.
that's okay, but I think they're going to talk about that here in just a minute.
Got
So I think when Region 12 talks about that here in a minute, I would say historically, we weren't really set up to provide what we're learning, right? You guys have heard me talk about lead and lag data,
Yes.
right? Allison's over there getting so excited. So historically, schools were set up just to look at lag data. we work, we get a state assessment, and then we give data. And what we've been working through that Texas Strategic Leadership Initiative with those 6 initiatives, the academic strategic plan, and now with the next plan that you're working on to flesh it out all the way, part of that is actually performance management. And so that's one of the things that they're going to talk about in training today. And as we move on, that's what you guys approved us an additional year along with some matching grant funds to be able to continue this performance management piece, which is creating systems that are more than just how are we doing on a STAR benchmark, that are how are each of those initiatives doing? Because the belief is that if we do well on each of the initiatives, that is going to feed into this big teacher retention and state assessment. So the short answer is at a minimum quarterly, we should be able to give you guys updates on the initiatives that you guys are setting forth as we move through. The honest evaluation is we haven't really done lead data much at all. It's relatively new. Matter of fact, Jennifer's student engagement initiative was the first one that really walked through in depth, looking at step back meetings and data and evaluation. And you guys have had that information brought to you guys from that one. So you'll see more of that as we move along, because what we're going to try to do is really focus on the initiatives, not try to spread ourselves so thin, but with that initiative, have these very clear checkpoints of lead data that move along so that ultimately when we get to STAR assessment, we really already know how we're going to perform, right? Because we've already talked about the struggles. We know the weak spots. We know where we're strong. And we kind of know where our students have performed academically. So that should just be like yeah, right. Because we already knew leading up to that.
Yeah.
Does that help answer something?
Yeah, no, it does. Sometimes I've always felt disconnected from it. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I won't know until a year later. And then I'm like, well, I wish we would have known sooner, or is there something we could have done?
Which is part of the whole argument with the STAR assessment, right? Like we work all year and then we take a test and the kids are in the next grade when we actually get the data back.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
and so that's part of what they were trying to solve by having more checkpoints throughout the year is here's more official well, we already had release stars that we could use for that. But what we recognize is our data is so much more than the STAR assessment, because if we only rely on that, we're never going to get where we want to go. We have to look at all these other things. That's where we got the other initiatives from.
What is the last question?
Yeah.
What has been the feedback from teachers on some of these initiatives?
Let me talk about some of yours.
Yeah, so math was a little bumpy.
Yeah.
Start. I mean, of course, anytime you bring on something new, it's just hard. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. It's just working through some of it. And I'm to put some more data in that. So that's still relatively new. We're still working through some hiccups in the system and trying to get on that on board. I think that once we get it on board, that data will be beneficial to teachers. They can really utilize that. MClass and Boost are both new programs as well that we're still onboarding and fostering so that we can get those rolled out. The Bluebonnet curriculum is a mixed bag. Everyone will say that. Any new curriculum is hard. You just don't know what you don't know. Where I've seen some really positive things being shared with teachers is student engagement in the knowledge building piece of it. Kids, when you walk through one of their classrooms, you feel like you're in a science and social studies classroom. That's reading. And writing. And kids are taking to that. And so that has been positive. What is hard is all the pieces of a new curriculum, the things you don't know, and internalizing something that's brand new with a lot of different things. So I do think that what we're seeing is really good. But it's a steep learning curve. So that's kind of a mixed bag. Fact fluency, the math classrooms have been wonderfully supported. I think the teachers have really appreciated that. The students have seemed to enjoy it. I mean, Miss Howard, are you guys appreciating that?
Yes, most students love it.
Yeah.
The kids that struggle don't, but it's because it's hard. But it starts easier, it builds, and it is just fact fluency and a little rocket. And they just do it, and it's good practice rather than just flat hard.
Yeah.
It's really short.
Cool.
And we haven't started wonder workshops yet. They're coming. So anyway, some of this we're still onboarding and doing, but But yeah, I mean, anytime with new things, you're gonna have good things about it and you're gonna have struggles, and that's where we're at for sure. But I do think as the year goes by that we will see continued work with this. There's definitely been positive about the 2 win times a day where teachers don't feel like they're having to decide for a kid, like they're struggling in both. What the heck? I don't have to decide if it's math or reading, and so now we don't have to make our decisions anymore. So that's been positive.
What I've heard from you, Tyler, we have a lot of new staff at middle school. And so right now we're still in the bringing staff on board and getting them in, establishing practices, procedures. They're really digging into data for kind of first round monitoring of student outcomes. But we got really blessed on some new hires that are coming through that we're seeing in the classroom. And so every time I've talked to him, he's cautiously optimistic, but very optimistic that just in hiring experience and kind of worldliness a little bit, just in that, I will tell you, hands down, at middle school, even at high school, even at elementary, it's the best start of year we've had in the way that classes have felt, in the way that teachers have settled in the way that kids have just launched right in. I mean, it's absolutely pre-COVID feeling walking back into the classroom. So I'm really excited about what that would look like. Tyler may have other feedback. I'll send him that question if he has feedback to give you guys. I'm expecting.
I love the work that's being done. I mean, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time to do it.
I think my favorite, if you guys heard Tyler's kind of closing statement, which is
The campus.
we're not a D campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not. None of our campuses are Ds or less or anywhere even close to that. And we just want to work to make sure that we're not working against ourselves in a system, that we want the system to reflect the work that we know that we are doing. And if you ask our families, we're not a D campus, even though the state says that on that assessment. But that is not what we feel, and that is not who we are, and that is not what you see when you walk through. If you ask Representative Curry when he walks through, what does he see? He's not going to see a D campus. He was jazzed and energized because and he just saw us every day. Like it's a regular day. So we're excited to hopefully identify some things that are just going to help our kids perform on that public assessment, like we see them every day.
Do you know which grade is struggling the most from the middle school?
All of them. Yeah. So we had some real struggles. That's right. I keep forgetting it's a 1 year thing. So we've been pretty open. We had some real struggles in hiring and retention. New teachers that struggled. We've been really lucky in rehiring some of those. So we expect to see some growth just in having experienced teachers in the classroom. We were able to hire the teacher of the year, new teacher at Baylor. We were able to hire a teacher that was already TIA designated. And so they've come in and joined the team. And we've seen some tremendous movement just in having some of those people come on the board. I mean, onto the team there. So it's in every content in every space. I will just note too, we've talked about this. We talked about this at the improvement committee. If you look at COVID impact of student cohorts, those kids are now in middle school, upper middle school, first year freshmen. So if you look at kind of how the lowest level kids that didn't have stable early ed, they've kind of moved through the system.
That's why I was asking, because I know that like 7th, 8th grade is the ones that, where you came from COVID, doing first and second grade, which is the basis.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if like maybe now 5th and 6th grade are performing better than these kids.
So Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong. This year's 4th grade is the first one that's had consistent Bridges math curriculum all the way through. Yeah. So this year's 4th grade is the first one that has had this new curriculum, which is a different way to think about math. It's really cool that have had it all the way through, as opposed to several different curriculums, including a COVID break between that. So.
But we have to remember that first year of 2020 was a remote year.
Yeah.
So even though we stay consistent.
Yeah.
There was still inconsistencies those 2 years because they're.
Yeah. So the way I'm looking at our cohorts is the kiddos that are currently finishing 3rd grade or in 3rd grade. 4th grade is kind of a bubble year, but elementary is the first ones that I really consider like, oh, they've been in school. Middle school, they still had disruptions, most of their elementary. High school, they were older kids going through it, so they weren't as impacted. Mhm, mhm. But Tyler and his team are all on it, like they are watching the cohort impact and moving through that. So
Okay,
Okay,
for sake of
I know,
time,
gotta go.
let's move on. We
Yeah.
still have 4 meaty topics, so please try to keep your comments
Yep.
brief and to the point.
Yep.
Item 4.2, consideration of teacher costs.
I'm gonna save you a little bit on that one because we actually went over that one. I think it's a duplicate from last month.
I went,
I went back and double checked the agenda and we approved the retention allotment. We are not changing that scale from that. Probably that one is actually still stable and holding. I don't have any other revenue to be able to give you on that one. So that is just where it is from that one. So that is essentially removed from the agenda. The next item, the update on financial forecasting, we kind of talked about it with the finance committee report. So you can go out. I strongly encourage you to go to TEA's website. I can send you a link. You can shoot me an email if you want to, and go dig through the financial reports up there, and you can see for yourself exactly what that information looks like, where the money's coming, where it's going, what's included, what's not included. If you want an individual one-on-one, I'll walk you through it. I'm happy to do that, like I walked through with the finance committee. But essentially right now, like just summarize what I said earlier, right now, it looks like any free added money, we have already committed to like the 1.5% raise as we move forward. Any other new money currently looks like it is specifically designated, like teacher retention allotment, support staff allotment, or the other cost, which covers the benefits for those two, or it's school safety allotment, or there's an early ed allotment that we got, or it's facilities allotment. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we will be stable on our funding. How much the board wants to look at or dig in or ask us to cut in other places will be up to the board discussion in October. And I feel comfortable that you should be able to have that conversation in October. There's no action item needed on that one. The district-wide student handbook revisions, that is an action item. It's underneath that discussion and possible action category. The employee handbook, just real quick to bump down, we've got some legal guidance that's coming through. And so I elected to not make edits in your live document. So there's no action needed on that one because I don't want you to do it and do it again and do it again.
I did have one question, and it's minor.
On the employee handbook?
Yeah.
Okay.
The address for this campus, is it 1020 Elm Avenue or 1022?
Should be 1020.
Yeah, it's
There's a
22.
typo. Okay, great. I'll fix that. Look at you reading close. I like it. Okay, so back up. There were quite a few little edits and a couple of bigger ones in the student handbook. So that's really the last agenda item before we move on to planning for that one. A couple of big ones that I want you to note in there. So we've now started receiving from MCC number grades, not just letter grades. And so we already had a mechanism in there to handle it if it was a letter grade, but now that it's a number grade, we made the adjustment. So it's just a number grade. We already had it in there for schools that gave us number grades, but we just wanted to really clarify that if it's given to us in a number, it's coming in as a number. If it's given to us in a letter, as a letter grade, we're using this conversion chart. So we made that edit. Then we have the phone policy update that's in there. So we made that edit. And then there's a couple of little other just kind of minor adjustments as we went along the way. The other big adjustment was because of the phone policy, we added it into the matrix. And we bumped it up a level because it can't be at just like a teacher handles it level. So we bumped it up to a level 2. Other than that, any edits that were suggested, this went out to all of the campus leadership teams. So they've been able to add in their stuff. It was all in there in red, so you can easily see what was added or changed. But I would ideally like approval because I really would like to get a clean document out to our families so that we have the documentation supporting the policy, supporting the state on that cell phone policy, especially.
I'll entertain a motion. A second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the student handbook?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Perfect. Want to take a quick break
Yes.
before we roll on?
Take a break, grab your dinner. Oh yeah, sorry, can you change the air a little bit?
Yes. Did it go off again? Okay. I will happily change the air for you guys.
No.
We'll let Region 12 get over here and get set up. 6:55. Sandwiches are in a box, so if we can move pretty quickly, we'll get started as quick as you get back to your seat. You get tickled? You get tickled? There's ice down here in the cooler as well.
think they're all.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, there's two religions.
You gotta keep
Mine is an anti-allergy.
Fair enough.
Yes. Not anti-allergy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
He's getting you in trouble, Mark. It's got
I
you.
was at home.
Well, hey, can I click for you? Do you have it on Flash Drive or is it on your computer?
Minute to share it.
Yeah,
Do that.
because then it runs through my feed.
Fair enough. I understand. I had a large one from Duke earlier. Made me feel better, but I was so down. Like, I was like, this is too much for me to have.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody didn't give me one.
But mine works very good now that I got a new one.
Oh, sit down. Yeah. How are you this year?
Good, how are you? Thanks for your patience.
Oh, we're good. I've been in many a board meeting. The longest you've had to wait, like showtime. Like from region working for region. Well, before you come into a, do some trainings afterwards, 3, be gone. 3, 4 hours. 4 hours, yeah. And you're on stage. In some situations, depending on what the context. Oh, yeah, that's what. Or if there's public comment. You know, now it's a superintendent. Yeah, you never know. The one that thought we're gonna be like this. Well,
That's a rookie
the one
mistake.
that I was like, I don't know when I'm gonna get home, wife, and they were done quick.
Yep,
They were just-
you never know. That's the truth.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm gonna put this down on your side when I'm going to start. It's just. Yeah. How's Marco's ball starting?
He's just loving it. He is just, he's found a couple of good buddies. He's locked in and into studying and yeah, he's off to a strong start. I think he was so nervous about it that maybe he overcompensated. Yeah. But I was telling somebody else, I was like, I wouldn't know. I don't talk to him that much. He's not very responsive.
That's just your excuse to go visit.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Give me the choice.
And he forgot to like take me off of his Find My phone. So, you know, I feel like that's on him. I still track him. Yeah.
10:38 at night.
It's so fun. What's doing?
Looking for my life is doing.
And I was kind of saying,
She goes out, like, she will text me, she'll be like, hey, it's 2 o'clock, I noticed you weren't home yet.
Oh, well.
Oh, my. No.
No, I know better. I do not track my sons past a certain time. I don't want to know.
That's probably best.
I
You
don't.
Yeah, you don't want to.
No.
I didn't realize. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, that's it.
And yeah, that's a great idea. Like if that's the only way that we can get our ICs into that additional funding. I don't know, if you like that,
And I'm. Well, yeah.
but if it gets them a $10,000 raise, and like we could,
Love education, like, sorry, last.
Yeah. I made the exact same thing, and I would have had to really think about, was it worth $500? You know, or
whatever, yeah.
That's so interesting.
Well, and I will tell you, I was standing talking with 2 of our MCs, and one of them was like, "You're coming back in the classroom," and the other one was like, "I'm not coming back in the classroom." And very much for the same, you know. And one of them honestly was, I was a really highly effective teacher and I had years of experience. So I can come back in the classroom for 2 years and potentially get TIA
Yeah.
and TRA
Mm-hmm.
and make 30 more than what I'm making now.
Right, yeah.
And I was like,
If you're in like 5 years of the
Yeah.
time. You know,
through that 5 years, like,
Yep.
and I said, here's the thing, I want you to stay an instructional coach. But that is exactly why TEA.
you're
put this in place.
something that would be- You're already out. Yeah, you like it.
And there's benefits to having them back in the classroom. Is that also true?
Or you-
I'm working with him.
Smaller class sizes. You spread them on more.
But you're getting like highly gifted teachers back. Yeah.
There you go.
You think the very
Not that.
person, like room mom for a party, and I'm like, get me out of here. Like, I cannot,
Got it.
I was like,
like, it's been 40 minutes.
It's much easier to just go. Watch the teacher and then go. Yeah.
That is the speaker
No response.
wheel. Do I unplug the speaker or the camera?
They use Rocket Math.
Like, not.
Is this like places like Prodigy or something like that?
There's practice, but Rock Math was just,
It's just-
it was younger, it'll just be a fact.
Notice the problem with the, like,
Yeah.
is there.
Come on, you. This USB does not want to go in. Something weird, like.
Hey, I've been found out. I'm doing karaoke on Thursday.
I know you are.
The song?
Yes,
Okay, that's good. You got to choose.
yes, but I was just telling them, I said, it's not a lot of singing, it's more dancing.
Oh,
Singing. So I was like, yeah, sweating it out of breath
okay, good. So that's good.
in my biker shorts. That's a plus.
Oh.
I'm after the Hispanic Heritage Celebration. Mm-hmm.
I don't see it yet, but let me go look in the shared with me.
Oh, it was that first one.
That one? Okay. Oh, that's not what you want to do. Try it and see.
Jump right on in, so we're respectful of y'all's time, I do think, because this is our third meeting together now. We've talked about team building and improving and evaluating student outcomes. And the
Mark, is
process.
it working? Sorry.
Oh,
Yep. Okay, good.
and the process of which we are going through over the next several months on building out the remaining portions of our long-range strategic plan. I think if we focus, we can be out of here in about an hour or so. That's gonna be the focus. Yes. Here's how. That's Allison, but Mark's talking right now. So, let's look at the
Ready.
objectives for tonight. If you remember, this month, we're talking about level 1 of the effective business framework. So tonight, we're gonna focus on bridging the gap from the academic plan to long-range plan. Now, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and pass them out the travel of their academic strategic plan, which you built out through the PSL process in 23-24. But we know that we're building upon that work that your steering committee has already done. We're also going to highlight the artifacts that we collected from level 1 over the last month. So we've been collecting several artifacts from members of the district that we're going to talk to you about tonight. Alex and I have, analyzed those. We've gone through them and we've provided our feedback for commentary tonight on some of the things that you are ultimately going to make the decision on for areas of prioritization, filling out the rest of the plan. We're going to address level one guiding questions. If you remember last month, we posed 3 guiding questions around this lever of planning and performance management from a district lens. So we're going to review those tonight. And then finally, we're going to identify level one initiatives that are aligned and effective. So I'll just pass that out to you. This is the work that we did together with your district level steering committee in the 23-24 school year. Because Rapoport was the recipient of the Texas Strategic Leadership Grant Year 1 pilot. They were one of 33 districts out of over the 1,200 in the state to participate in that. And from that, you have in front of you the academic strategic plan, which is both an external and internal document in accordance to the district level system and focuses over the next 3 to 5 years in the area of academic here in Rapoport. It embodies your vision, mission, and your core values, which we'll also talk about more tonight. We identified and set targets and baselines for your House Bill 3 goals that are required by statute, as well as adding 2 more junior high specific goals in the 8th grade level that mimic the 3rd grade goals as well, which are statutory requirement along with CCMR. And we identified some priorities and aligned initiatives. Our goal tonight and for the remainder of the semester is to pick up where we left off and fill in those gaps. This is what we like to call our strategy on the page, and it is unique to Rapoport as it identifies and puts out there the carrot on the stick, your vision, your mission, your core values, and the student experience statements that we designed. Let me take that back. As the steering committee designed through that TSL academic strategic planning process. And the steering committee stated that every Raven, every day will experience 1, a safe, consistent, and respectful learning environment where they are seen and heard. That was very important. 2, that every Raven every day will experience a challenging and engaging learning environment that fosters student ownership and critical thinking led by well-prepared, proactive, and effective educators. And finally, every Raven every day will experience a learning environment that will empower them to engage productively, learn from their mistakes, and develop grit and resilience and contribute positively to their community. So collectively, those are those aspirational statements that hang out there as that attainment piece that all this work is working towards. We identified and set those student outcome goals that we mentioned. And then those were the 3 levers that kind of resonated as areas of focus in relation to the effective district framework that we hammered out through that process. We had initiatives that were around the area of talent, academic experience, and also instructional leadership and capacity building. In year 2 of that TSL work, in the 24-25 school year, which was last year, we led the performance management routine piece and worked with them on one specific initiative on how to look for that lead metric data that Alexa talked about. We'll talk about a little bit more tonight. To look at it throughout the year around the initiative of aligning expectations for engaged classrooms. We heard Jennifer talk tonight about how engagement has increased across her campus and throughout the district.
I do want to note, because if you're looking at this, it does look a little bit different than that, because when we originally went through the process, we landed on the 2 priorities of talent, which you can see there, the streamlined onboarding, recruitment, and retention, which is CIA. And then instructional leadership and capacity building, which has the aligned expectations PDC. And on this, in our original documents, we also had strong foundations reading. That was a something that y'all had jumped in and you were engaged in, the strong foundation planning at the time for reading, which was already a big initiative. And it wasn't something we wanted to leave off. So at the time, the conversation was, we're just gonna put that in the bucket with instructional leadership. But over the past year, as we visited and worked through this process with Alexis, we really decided, you know what, so instructional leadership and capacity building is really about building the capacity of your leaders, building the capacity of your teachers. Whereas strong foundations, the implementation for reading and the planning at the time was really more about the academic experience and the curriculum. So we really wanted to, as we began this process, we really wanted to make sure that it was in the lever in which it really needed to fall. So that as we completed the different levers in this process, we gave it the credit that it's due because it's a huge initiative that they're working through in that academic experience lever. Alexis, do you want to say anything other than that?
No, I would just say, as you guys know, we did the planning year and we have the implementation year that we're moving into this year. And when she says it's a huge initiative, a lot of Jennifer's time and a
Lauren.
huge piece of Lauren's time is spent on making sure that we selected the right curriculum, moved through it well, pre-trained well, brought it in well, had all the stuff that we need, and then are implementing it well this year. So it is a single initiative underneath academic experience because it is a big initiative underneath academic experience.
Well, you can see when we look at the overall strategy on the page of Rapoport, and we think about how it fits in 6 individual levers of the effectiveness framework across the bottom. The work that we've done thus far with that academic lens is great and it's a good foundation. But the reason why we're here working with you this semester is to fill in the gaps in other areas. Now we're going to start by focusing on level 1, planning and performance management. So let's take a minute and look at those level 1 artifacts, which are the focus for tonight. Here is a list of the artifacts that we gathered through submission and participation from members of the district. We collected copies of your campus improvement plans, the district improvement plan, various meeting agendas from both the district and campus level in regards to certain meetings they were having with faculty and staff. Also professional development slides that took place at the beginning of last school year, this school year, and throughout this year. The academic strategic plan, of course, which you have in front of you, and also performance management routine, which came out of last year as we worked with the district level steering committee. We took all those artifacts, we hunkered down in a room for several hours and started disseminating and deciphering all those artifacts to see what the story was going to be told from that information. If you remember, we posed 3 questions last month. I'm going to ask somebody who wants to volunteer to read that first guiding question for us as we attempt to look at what we collected in regards to that question and what that means to you guys moving forward.
I'm going to volunteer Grady because he essentially asked this question a few minutes ago.
Oh. Okay.
Right? I mean, it's essentially what you asked just a few minutes ago before we transitioned over into here.
How effective is the district defined to indicate what align its core strategic elements, including vision, mission, core values, and multi-year student outcome goals, to ensure a coherent direction that consistently drives decisions and is understood and supported by all internal and external stakeholders.
All right, so that's a big.
It's a big mouthful. Big mouthful,
Big,
but-
that's meaty, right? If I were to dump that into Chat GPT or Gemini, what's the takeaway? How well do you do what you do? And maybe not just how well do you do what you do, how well do you
No.
know what you do? How well do you?
How well do others know?
Uh-huh.
what we do?
And how well do
How do
you,
we communicate that?
how do we track it and communicate it? What, when, where, like, how, all of that.
Very good. So here are some of the evidence that we collected and some of the takeaways that we have from this thus far. We do know that the academic strategic plan is posted on your website right underneath the ending strategic plan, which took place in 22 to 26. It's coming to closure while we're doing that work now. So it is outward facing to the public, right? We also had evidence when we deciphered through the various pieces of artifacts that it was very distinct that in new teacher orientation this year, when we look through the agenda, it reflects discussion of this academic plan and introduces those new members to Rapoport about our vision for academics. There was also strong evidence of implementation of vision, mission, and core values throughout the district in many of the campus and district level artifacts, whether it was through professional development slide decks, whether that was through walkthroughs in year 2 of CSL last year. So there's a strong evidence of that. One thing that we did.
Let me see if I can.
Right. One thing that we also wanted to point out, though, that we didn't necessarily agree was.
Hang on, I'm trying to fix it.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll go back to them. I don't know why the remote thing is on there now. I don't know where that went from.
It's that arrow.
This one? Okay.
Oh, here.
Yep. Make it go one.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Go team.
All right, one thing that we were going to point out that we didn't see evidence of the academic strategic plan reflected at a campus level when we looked at campus level documents. So take a minute to just look at these 4 bullets, because these were our big meat and potato takeaways when we decided through all of that evidence. What's maybe something that resonates with you or stands out? And we can share also what stands out to us on our side as well.
And also, I want to clarify that no evidence of academic strategic plan reflected at the campus level. The one above that, where it says strong evidence of implementation throughout the district, that really came from, you may have said this when I was looking at the slide, but that really came from us being on campuses last year. We saw y'all talk about your core values constantly.
Mhm.
It is everywhere. You ask the kids, we talk to kids.
Elementary campus, second grade is still off.
And so there strong implementation of what the vision is, what the core values are. That is very much ingrained in the culture across the district and all the campuses. Just having that academics in the artifacts that we looked at a campus level.
Yeah, that's just in what we collected, we didn't see a lot of notation of that. Anything else that jumps out to you? So for me, as I pointed out in bullet 2, we did see the discussion of the academic strategic plan and new teacher orientation. We didn't necessarily see it in other conversations with faculty and staff, current faculty and staff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're talking, because the focus is district-wide, right? District systems.
And that's the thing is, there was a rollout, but was there a reminder?
Was there a reminder? Is it still top of mind? It's not a one and done. We
Mhm.
created this plan, right, for the next 3 to 5 years. And that's what we want to make sure that we're discussing through this process. So we're going to ask you for a couple of minutes to go back, and this was the original guiding question that we started with the last 2 slides on. Thinking through the question, how effectively does the district define, communicate, etc.? What we want you to do is on your own opportunity to take a few notes or think individually, based on the evidence presented in relation to the question above, what stands out to you that Rapoport is doing well, or areas that you may need to strengthen? And I'm going to back it up here just a second to this slide. To the bulleted items we reflected in the artifacts. What is maybe something that you're doing well, and something that maybe you need to strengthen in regards to question number 1? If you want to take a couple minutes, 30 seconds, jot down some notes, think about it. We want to capture some of these up here, so we're going to come back and reflect on them this second. And Allison is going to help us scribe those.
And can they use their own experience sitting on the board and being on campus? So it's not just those 4 little bullet points.
Absolutely not. That's just what we wanted to yield from the artifacts we collected.
That's what you got as third-party reviewers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
as a member of the board, and even more importantly, as a member of this steering committee, what is something that resonates with you in regards to this guiding question? And remember, level one has to do with planning and performance management.
With this question.
With that question, yeah.
I think the positive is it's very open to the parents or any stakeholder that goes to our website. Like it's in a very open place. And so it is communicated what we believe in, what's our plan.
Open communication through our website.
Yes. It's easy to find for people outside of the school.
I can't name how many times I've been in rooms with students, and just like you said, I just want to echo what you said. Students can rattle off, and students know it back of their hand.
Is understood and supported by all internal and external stakeholders. Thinking about that last sentence in there. What's going well? And what could be improved upon? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think this comes from our conversation today as we were kind of recapping the state representative's visit here. A lot of people are still unfamiliar about what type of charter school Rapoport is, whether or not it's something you have to qualify for based on your parents' income, high or low, if you have to be an at-risk youth
Or not.
or not.
Mhm.
So I think there's still a miscommunication or maybe a need to clarify with community what student are eligible for Rapoport.
Okay, I was not going to get you to define, what do you mean when you say type?
Yes,
You're talking about
eligibility.
Okay.
And more students are eligible, I believe, than people believe that they are. I think people just have in their minds some type of situation that is not Rapoport. And as you said, our own state rep was like, is everyone in at-risk kids? No. Someone asked me, is it a private school? No. And so I think people don't necessarily understand how they are or not eligible for Rapoport.
Yeah. But then yet there are still parameters that come out of your, yes, in your charter as well, like, in there like enrollment number, parameter.
We cap at 950
Yeah.
and essentially you can't have a criminal history.
Mhm.
But other than that, you gotta live in McLennan County. Those are kind of the three.
Growth would be the understanding of all internal stakeholders. So I know there's a plan. I see the copy of it in like a workroom. But like
I'm on the roll call. A greater understanding from.
for internal stakeholders.
For internal stakeholders, a greater understanding.
And I'm gonna be a little opportunistic and add, when you talk about internal stakeholders, the students, because I know the work that our teachers and leaders are already doing right now to increase students' understanding of their performance and growth. Middle school has a whole initiative about growth mindset and what their scores are and what that student's goal is in each of their classes and all of that. And so I think that goes back to this, right? Like we did a rollout, we talk about it. We do new teachers because we have to introduce them to everything. We talk about it some with staff. It's available on the website, but what does it really look like to live it on the daily for kids?
We don't know that's part of the plan. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Are we aligning it back to those priorities and initiatives in our conversations, in our campus faculty meeting, in our district-wide meetings? Are we saying this action and decision that we're focusing on today and discussing, aligning back to this priority we identified in our academic engagement plan? If you don't see the alignment, let me explain to you. By knowing this and conducting ourselves in this way and doing this, we are actually working toward achieving this priority that we're focusing on here. And it relates to talent, or it relates to integrated student supports. And so those discussions with that in mind, that alignment piece, could be powerful. Anything else before we move on to guiding question 2? Because ultimately tonight, we're gonna work with these contributions, and we're gonna get narrowing down for the priorities and initiatives we want to focus on. All right. Let's look at guiding question number 2. Do I have a volunteer to read that for us?
What extent does the district demonstrate effective execution of its strategic plan through robust performance management functions, systematic implementation planning, and consistent project management processes, utilizing data and accountability structures to ensure on-time, high-quality completion of initiatives and measurable progress towards goals?
Another heavy question. Well, we got GPT say right there. Let's summarize it. Or maybe let's start with this. What are key words of this that jump out at you in this question?
Execution of the plan.
Demonstrate effective execution of the plan. What else?
Accountability.
Accountability. Execution. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say performance.
Okay, so yes, that's where I was going with that. We heard execution, the execution of what, of that plan through performance management. In other words, we have a plan. How do we know it's working? How do we know it's taking place? How do we know it's just not over there sitting on a wall somewhere stapled up, right? And say, well, we got a plan, right? I was an old football coach. We had a plan every Sunday when we left the field house for Monday. But if we couldn't execute it by Wednesday, that was it. We were out of time. Are we managing the performance of what else? Consistent project management processes, utilizing data, structures to ensure high quality completion of the initiative that we've chosen and measure progress for our goals. Because we talked about in this academic plan that we're building on, or we're surrounding with the rest of this work, right? We have student outcome goals. We have them for 3rd grade RLA in math, we have them for 8th grade RLA in math, and we have them for CCMR. We need to know, do we have performance management routines in place that are effective, that are leading us, there's that word again, we talked about leading data, that are leading us toward knowing when the lag data comes out that we were headed in the right direction. That makes sense? Okay. So here's some things that we discovered. Absolutely.
So when we looked through campus improvement plans and district improvement plans, both of those reflect alignment to the effective schools framework, which especially for your campus improvement plans, that can be very relevant. And the effective schools framework is in line in a manner with the effective district framework. But there wasn't a direct alignment to the academic strategic plan or the effective district framework. The SIPs and the DIPs did not have alignment to those. We didn't see alignment directly in the SIPs and the DIPs to the same language or the effective district framework.
It's not necessarily a negative, it's just something we pointed out as a fact that we determined when we broke it down.
The second thing was evidence of implementation of the targeted initiative. So last year, the targeted initiative was the student engagement initiative from the academic strategic plan through professional development. So this was something that we did find. We found lots of evidence of the implementation of this initiative. They worked really hard the past year to put those performance management routines in place for that student engagement, to put the professional development in place, to do the walkthroughs on the campuses to see how those lead measures and how those lead measures are working and tracking that data. So we found lots of implementation of that.
Year-long professional development.
Correct. And it's not something that got dropped. It's continuing into this year, which is really exciting. That I would venture to ask a teacher how they feel about, hey, the professional development is still on the same focus that it was last year. Yes, there's other stuff that has to be covered, but we're still trying to get better in this area. It wasn't a one and done kind of thing. So one thing we found when we looked at meeting agendas, like the superintendent cabinet meeting agendas, was there wasn't evidence of the academic strategic plan or the specific initiatives really found as consistent item on the superintendent's agenda meetings that she's talking to her district leadership.
So we just put that in there and say that there is a system that exists where that can happen. We just didn't see it in there, but it could, to make sure that we keep it top of mind and then it disseminates down back to the campus level. If we saw that in guiding question 1, is making sure that that is communicated in line with those conversations at the campus level. Okay. All right, so same routine. We're gonna take a minute, we're gonna think through the question. Demonstrate execution plan, robust performance management functions, etc. Based on the evidence that we've kind of discussed, that we took away from the artifact collection, what are areas, and from your own experiences, are areas in this, or areas in this question that we can either point out as strengths or areas for continuous improvement, or that could be strengths.
I mean, I'm thinking what I heard from Whitlark tonight, which was like a level of granularity. I mean, it was covering all the bases. It was multidimensional. It addressed all students. I mean, it's comprehensive. Like the scope. So I don't know what I'm saying. The scope of the plan is detailed and inclusive.
Mark, can you flip back to that data slide?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay, just while they're talking.
If my chicken scratch is not what y'all intended me to write up there, just.
Yeah, and I think I guess you can piggyback off of there for like on the grow side, it is the long-term implementation, like how exactly is this going to be communicated to the teachers or to the, and maybe it was, and we just didn't get to hear about it as a board meeting, but I just on the other side, kind of both making the plan and then, kind of execute it.
I would also just say, since we're on that same thread, the work that Region 12 has done with the lead, which is Jennifer, the level of effective planning and implementation of the plan has been so stellar. How do we take that and now match it with the other initiatives that we have that we now have to do by ourselves? Not completely by ourselves, but like, what does that look like to take this? When I say exemplar, I mean exemplar. When we take that and then say, okay, what does it look like to do P2C that way? What does it look like to take our pathways, partnerships, and pipelines? What does it take, right, to do the other things? And Strong Foundations is guided in the same way that engagement was guided. And so we've got now 4 other initiatives that we really need to follow in the same pathway, like same pattern. But what does that look like? Because we won't have those clear grant funded guides, right, to walk us through all of those initiatives.
I think will be prioritization. I think you don't have 8 Jennifers to do this. You can.
Each initiative only has one. Yeah.
Correct, and it's a long range plan. You're not gonna be able to hit everything on day 1, right? You're gonna have to prioritize. And I think what I'm hearing you here, is how we mimic those activities to our other initiatives as well, correct? And when we think about that too, the initiative that we performed last year, that auditable piece, if you would, was classroom observations.
Yep.
Not everything is going to be auditable
In the same way.
through
Yeah.
a classroom observation.
Yeah.
But that assessment.
Is that?
Yeah.
But it should be a positive too, because you found, you do one thing.
That's right. And it has started.
Done it well.
Yeah. I would say an exemplar model for what the process would look like. That's the positive. And then what does it look like moving from that one?
Anything else on question 2? Go back to the question one more time. To what extent does the district demonstrate effective execution of its plan, robust performance management, systematic implementation plan, consistent project management, using the data, and accountability structure or time for high quality completion initiative and measure progress for the.
So Mark, I think if you flip back over, my board's gonna be nice. They're not gonna dog me on that last bullet, but I'll dog myself on that. So I think on that one, I meet with initiative leads. 2 of the initiatives are now mine. So I meet with myself on 2 of them, but the other 4, like Region 12 has been meeting and walking with Jennifer. Now Region 12 is meeting and walking, finalizing with Jennifer and meeting with Tyler. We've got the previous consultant and now in a different capacity, Region 12 is meeting with Lauren on that. So we've had these external consultants really that have met with and walked through these initiative leads for these 3 key priority initiatives, year 1, and year 2. So then I've started meeting with the other one and then, which is Angie Cotton, right, on the TIA stuff, and then started to work through my own. But I don't do a good job of bringing it to the greater cabinet, right, to the bigger team of people to say, here's what we're doing on these, right? Like Jennifer's whooping it on hers and Tyler is building his up and getting ready to go with that one. But I definitely could do a better job doing that, but I'd even take it one step further, right? It's not just on the cabinet meeting. If you were to pull board agendas for the last however long, okay, it's like, so, but if you're looking at that, like we've done that through what y'all have presented, but as you scale it down to stakeholders, including students for data, and out as far up as the board and the public in progress monitoring, right? Like this is where we know we're weak. This is why we joined in TSL, right? And to walk through that.
That Alexis and her team got to join at the ground floor and it was a pilot. And so they got to see the good, the bad, the ugly with us and how we fumbled through it.
We had to do fish bones. We had to do fish bones.
It's a lot of work, but it was blood, sweat, and tears between us to get it all like. But there were some things that we didn't know in that first round that we have since kind of learned and it's in our TSL process. And one of that is really encouraging the superintendent to have. So we have our performance manager routines where we go out and we do the walkthroughs and we collect the data and then we have a meeting and we talk about that data. But something that we've added to the process that, to be completely fair, it's not something Alexis that we told her to do and she didn't. It was, it wasn't a part of the process at the time, but having those intermediary meetings with your team to talk about, okay, what's the work we're doing right now on this? Between those walkthroughs, between those data meetings, but what's the work that's happening? What's your goal for this? Like, what are you working on right now? In the next month, what are you working on right now? And so having those meetings. And so that's something that's, you know, we grow and we learn, and when we know better, we do better. So
I'm glad that you made that kind of discovery there, and I was talking about that tonight, because this system exists, and by utilizing it in that sense a little bit, it can help us make sure that we mimic those routines in those other areas. Because whether those people are involved in it now, they're involved in that communication, which is a great communication tool that you have, it's going to plant that seed. And they're going to start understanding more what you're talking about. So that when an initiative is brought in their realm, they have an understanding.
Yeah.
It seems as though they are being included, because if you look at bullet 2, it's getting to the students and student engagement. So those cabinet members have to have some knowledge, in my opinion. It may not be in the meeting setting or on the agenda, but it appears to me that some communication is going on.
I think you're probably right. I would think just in the general osmosis of being in a small district, you're going to hear about the stuff that the different people are doing, you know, but if something were to happen to me tomorrow, you wouldn't be able to pull evidence that says this is what happened. Somebody couldn't pick up a document and walk forward with it.
Okay. Looking at our last question, it's my favorite because it's the most fun. What district systems are in place for continuous improvement? What district systems are in place for continuous improvement? So here's some of the evidence that we analyzed. We do have evidence of secondary teams discussing how to utilize data collected on their leadership team agenda. We also saw evidence at the elementary level for utilizing data for their win time. We talked about that tonight. in an earlier presentation, I think it was on MTS ads and various other topics. District has set and calendar performance management routines monitoring lead data, as we've discussed, in a quarterly cycle, the academic strategic plan. And the academic strategic plan is reflected in 2 instances of the board of director minutes from when it was originally completed and introduced back in May of 2024. So we kind of roll back to there to see how those discussions had evolved. So if we take a second to swallow some of that and look at it, and then follow the same routine one more time. Looking back at our question, I'll flip back to it. This is a easy one to remember. What district systems are in place for continuous improvement? Keep working toward those carrots on the stick, those aspirational statements, that strategy on the page here in Rapoport. What are some things we're doing well toward continuous improvement? And what are some areas that maybe we can improve on?
I think the consistent engagement of the district improvement committee is a recent win, a good thing. Consistently in the last year or two.
That's the engagement of the district improvement committee.
Yes.
And I'll say it was really exciting to hear all 3 of them commit to time and space to do that. That was really exciting for you guys.
Thank you.
I mean, Alex even jumped in a car on her way so that she with kids so that she would still be engaged in the conversation. So it was great.
What else in regards to district systems, that's the key word, for continuous improvement? District level systems for continuous improvement.
They're collecting and utilizing data for the one they were before. It's like, mentioning the link, now they broke it even that in reading. They're utilizing data and they're performing based off of
And that's a positive, that we're doing it. Right. So I'm glad that you said that, because I wanted to take something and I wrote it down. I can't see it here in my speaker notes, because I'm not looking at those, but I took it from one of these professional development on college campus. It might have been at a campus meeting or something. And it was a statement that he had put in there communicating with the staff and says, no, we don't need more data. We just need to know how to do, we need to know what to do with the data we have. Like, we've got all kinds of data. It's not that we need to collect more. Are we properly interpreting it or utilizing it in its best fashion? And so I'm glad that you pointed that out there. Anything else? Or is it different levels of?
Alexis, I'd like you to restate what you were stating a while ago.
To the board, like down and up. Yeah. So we've talked about it, but we haven't put it on agendas. We haven't specifically talked about outcomes from those. Region 12 has presented findings through the strategic leadership initiative, through their updates for that. So I think it's even as much as I'm talking with individual people and we talk about it, we need to talk about it more at the superintendent's cabinet, but we also need to bring specific updates on the specific initiatives, not just overall, not just on the board goals, like those student achievement star goals, but like much like we've started doing department reports kind of throughout the year to you guys, is adding in those initiative reports throughout the year so that you get some updates from those.
That's another big change that we had in TSL with this second group that we're going through, is that scheduling data updates with their board on how their initiatives are going after they have those quarterly meetings and reporting that data to the board so that you are seeing what those lead measures are, you know, what the outcomes of those lead measures are leading up to your lagged, which would be your star test.
So, and one of the norms that we always want to do when we work through this process, and we want to make sure that we celebrate the work in our city, as well as building off areas of growth. So if you look at what we've captured here over the last three guiding questions, that direct our work in level one, we'll see that our comments aren't just all one-sided, right? They're not just all in the areas for potential growth. There's some great things going on in the district already, so we want to build off of this as we continue to move forward. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna shift a little bit, and we're gonna dive in a little bit closer for the next 5 to 10 minutes, a little bit deeper into level one, as we hone down on those initiatives that we want to identify before we leave tonight. And it's filling in those three buckets, or at least one of those three buckets that are still remaining in our strategic plan. I refer to the areas of prioritization sometimes. And so we're trying to fill that bucket on level one for now. Anybody like a highlighter? We've got some there. We're going to give you a few minutes to work individually here as I kind of lead you through these questions. Here is the objective for this little activity. The goal overall, by the time we get through, is to identify one or two initiatives aligned to level one and the long range plan. Now, we're going to identify those one or two initiatives. Because if you remember, we already have 6 initiatives built into the academic plan across the other 3 levers that we identified tonight. So we're only going to focus in on 1 or 2 more initiatives collectively as a whole group, but we're going to start individually, do some individual soul searching here. We're going to spend 5 minutes individually reviewing the level one, take notes, highlight. And I want you to read through those essential actions and those key practices on level one. Think back to the connections you made on the right side of these key charts on these guided questions, those areas of improvement. We said these are some areas we might want to strengthen. Where do they align in the essential actions and the key practices in level one? Now, remember, we work with the effective district framework levers because they are what have been researched and scientifically backed as what the most effective districts in the states focus on. They focus on these areas. So that's why we're working on it as our framework. After 5 minutes, we're going to grab a couple of sticky notes. And you want to create 2 sticky notes on areas that you think are a priority for Rapoport. These 2 areas are a priority for me at the RP level 1 for Rapoport Public Schools. Then, as a group, we'll discuss these and we'll try to coalesce around 1 or 2 overall initiatives that we can leave here tonight as a unified steering committee that we're going to put as initiatives for our level 1 area of focus moving forward. And just to recap, we're going to review level 1. We're going to align those with any of the areas that we identify as areas for improvement. And I'm going to write down my individual thoughts on 1 or 2, no more than 2, it might just be 1. And this is an area that I think we need to focus on. And then we're going to do a whole group share out in this little bit. Okay?
And just to clarify, the page numbers are a little off on the bottom, but page 5, 6, and 7 are the details.
Yes, I think the top one is an overview.
Yeah. So the first page is just the overview. It's the inside and then the little bitty bit on the back. That's really what he wants you to pick from. The inside and the little bitty bit from the back.
So the sticky note have the action level or the key practice level?
It depends on where you think it most resonates with the question or focus area you have.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong, to be honest.
Think about implementation of that as well. Is it going to be too broad? Some of these, if you pick the action level, that's a lot of initiatives underneath it. Some of them it's not. Bless you. Did you say we're taking these somewhere? We're taking them somewhere? Not yet. Okay.
Centralized.
Okay. It just said place your sticky notes. I was trying to,
Yes.
you don't mean physically. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
The language that you capture on your sticky notes is not needing necessarily kind of verbatim from what you're reading, but to help guide your thoughts for how does this apply to Rapoport and what we discussed. We're gonna try to figure out where it lives in a little bit.
Once you do have kind of your sticky note, I'm not trying to rush you. We have something talking about. As you read through this and then you write down kind of your thoughts on what you think can create high leverage in the district. Jennifer's gonna model putting your sticky notes in the area they go.
Too much a few minutes long day right now.
For your cup, I was like, no.
No, it is the speaker. These things are pretty hardy, thankfully. How do I know? I haven't watched one before. Mine?
I just don't, I mean, I know the evidence. I know the value, I just don't, I can't translate them into my analysis. Not unusual. It seems like fun. I don't know. So I think so I think because I've been through this process last year and walking through it with the steering committee, do that TSL, I think get those sensations. I know it's going to come in another sample, which is what I've been saying. No, this is why we're doing this. This is the priority.
This is the priority.
Or I know this was uncomfortable. But this is something that we do because it falls in this so instead of me saying, because I wrote to, or instead of Jennifer having to say, because I didn't do it. Because so we're doing these records and these milestones and these checkpoints because it's part of this bigger package. Okay, and so we need to take. So that's. We know we go.
I was doing great. We're getting together. We're coming forward.
To change the way that we do the work. Because. The day has been 30 minutes. You did refill. Because I want people to be happy and it bothers me that somebody's in that space. So I did today. And we opened up. You had told me about that. Yeah, but. Sure that. But I should. It's. We have. Spend time with people, things. There's other key practices that I need to do.
Everybody, just like have their thoughts. Okay. So we're kind of step back and initially look at this kind of like a heat map and see where the greatest impact would be across the 5 to 6.
In a mean way. Yeah.
We've got some shared thoughts here across really 3 of the essential actions. The one that jumps out with just one extra stick note overall is essential action 1.4 that has to do with performance management. And it provides continuously improve implementation by reflecting on progress against goals and plan. And I'm going to just kind of call out some of the individual statements there, maybe then ask some of the contributors to share on if you desire to. It says quality teachers. Superintendent aligns goals with campus leaders and board. Data setup, data collection, performance management routines. Establish systems that routinize initiative, progress, reflection. And then performance management, data collection and reporting. Data collection, minimum quarterly reporting, updates, ability to pivot or tweak when needed, and routine reflection. What stands out to you about those comments?
Data collection.
Data collection.
I think routine reflection, like routine reflect, like
Where we are.
this is what we're doing and it happens often. This is part of who we are, what that looks like, as opposed to this is a singular activity. Yeah.
System, routine,
Yeah.
regularly,
Mhm.
right? Regularly. So I think that's probably our biggest takeaway right there on 1.4. Routine data reflection, routine data management, routine data conversation.
And I also heard the ability to pivot.
Yeah, I noticed that there.
Yeah.
And that's why we talked about, we've said it a few times tonight, hearing the lead data, or it's not going the way we thought. It's not where we thought in halftime.
Yep.
Yeah. Start running.
Yeah.
We need to pivot a little bit and adjust. Very good.
Yep.
Okay. And then 1.3 and 1.5, we've kind of split it here. So let's give a little bit of focus on each one. Let's say 1.3 first. We're focusing on implementing, planning, and project management. Plan for and project manage implementation.
So I'll just say, I just want to talk a little bit because I had both highlighted 132 and 144. I ended up putting 132 because I got stuck a little bit of like chicken and egg, like which one came first. And one of my concerns was based on the evidence that you guys brought forward, not necessarily my opinion, even though I do have to weigh that in some, is if we don't have structures and a mindset to project manage, how do we monitor what we don't have set up to be able to be monitored? So I really feel like those are pretty equal.
And you almost have to do one to do two, but if you do one without two, one doesn't really matter. So I kind of battled between the two of those because I feel like they're highly effective, like partners in that. But I struggle being able to say, heck yeah, board, like, let's drive into 1-4 when I know for certain we're not system-wide set up for 1-3.
We kind of- they want them all. Well, we need to focus, well.
We can do all.
Can't do it, can't focus on all, you were focusing really on. No.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but there's a strong connection there, and we may see that we can comprise it into one. So it says, project management tools and structures, milestones, deliverables, accountability, implementation by reflection, goals and plan, leadership, stakeholder, students. For all other initiatives, develop clear performance management structures and routines. Sounds similar to what we said, really kind of on our last stickers a little bit. Have a unified approach across all campuses. And meeting structure tool, timely data updates, quality completion of milestones and goals, accountability, acknowledgement of success, a successful performance. Okay. And then as we look at 1.5, which is our next heaviest one, which is organizational foundations for continuous improvement, which is defined as establishing and sustaining an organizational wide commitment to continuous improvement in culture and key practices at home. We have focus on student success, continuous improvement, and mindset of culture. Identify challenges, needs, opportunities for improvement, routine expectations for improvements, ways to define successful accountability, and I think it says, keep training our new hires effectively. So if we think back to what our goal was for tonight, it was to really focus on one or two primary initiatives in level one. And we're looking at where kind of our main thoughts were. I think we could probably all coalesce around the last one we kind of stamped out. How did we capture that? How did we dictate that just a second ago, Allison? When we wrote down for 1.4. We talked about establishing routine data reflection. Would we all agree that that's probably something we want to put as an initiative there, level one? I think it is similarly related to 1-3 from what we captured there, making sure that we have the tools and structures in place. I guess what I would pose to the group right now, from all the discussions that we've had tonight, is there any other primary initiative that we think we want to focus on other than those regularly structured routine data systems? But we can build a bunch on them, but like I said earlier, the narrower focus we have, the more impactful we can be to kind of track the performance of it as well. The goal is 1 to 2. I feel like we've kind of identified one. Are we good with that, or do we feel like we need to hammer out something else?
Sounds great.
So the other ones touch on that. So if you're not having the data.
They support it in both ways. So they both lend themselves to continuous improvement, and they both lend to establishing the tools and the mechanisms you need for those data routine. Allison, I got something on the tip of your tongue.
Well, will you exit out of that and then go back in? I made edits.
On that slide.
But it's not gonna show up if we don't
Exit out.
exit out and come back in.
Did it go now?
So coalescing around the like wording of that. I don't know if that's your intent.
You tell us, we're here to capture the desire of the steering committee. As we talk about planning and performance management, trying to answer the guided questions tonight on how we try to bring that plan for academics to life. Will that help us make an impact by being cognizant of that initiative and working for bringing it to life?
So does regularly need to be more defined? Because your regular and my regular may be different. That's just a question. And when you say data reflections, I would just caution, because one of the things we have already talked about tonight is that we're great at reflecting on data. We reflect on lots of data because we got lots of data to reflect on. But so what?
So do we want to think that word reflection?
And also being able to pivot if something needs to be changed.
Okay.
Being open-minded to keep it in place for the correct period of time to see changes, but also being able to change it when it needs to, because you can't change it right away, because you have, it needs to be a certain time to see changes.
Like it.
Once we see them, are we able to pivot and change it in the way that needs to be adjusted, even if it's not a big adjustment?
Okay.
Maybe a question that assumes something needs to be course corrected, something needs to be aligned, something needs to be dug into.
So I think what I'm hearing,
There's an effect
I'm gonna
we said earlier.
throw something out there, y'all help me wordsmith it. Is it something more in the line of, we want to get maybe as specific as saying, establish quarterly, bi-monthly, I don't know, quarterly structured data reports at a district level for
Major initiatives.
for
Right.
major initiatives?
Because I'm telling you, if you ask me to do that for everything I do, that's just not it. Major initiatives.
Say, a devil's advocate right there.
Yeah.
What you just
Get really specific in saying that.
I know, and what you just said, you have in place. Establish quarterly data reporting at the district level. So your district team does meet quarterly and report on that data. So I don't know that necessarily accurately that reflects what is missing.
So press into that.
Says against goals and plans. So you meet, you reflect, but then it doesn't go back and say, is that against our goals and plans? Is it working? To me, it's just adding on the goals.
So I agree with that. I think what's hard is that I almost feel like we're talking about apples and oranges because our strategic goal and plan is based on star data. And everything we collect throughout the year is not star data. And so it's hard at some point to like, how do we like smash these together to say, we're not going to get this data until August. Now, we take benchmarks and we do some things that will help us along the way, but not in every grade level. So that's not going to help us in some other. So I think maybe we need to be thinking of like, just because the academic strategic plan is talking about STAR, like what are the benchmarks that would help us feel like because we're not going to get that data until August.
So I'm going to continue on from what you're saying. So what you have done with engagement is you've said, if we do this initiative work well, STAR data will change. And I think that's one of the things I would like for the board to think about is we're just on one of the levers. You've already done the other 3 levers. So there's only going to be 2 other levers that we're going to press back into on that. So what you're really asking is the 6 initiatives we already have, plus whatever else you put in. That's really what you're talking about here. Lever 1 is how you set up the rest of the work, the 6 initiatives we have, plus whatever else we decide coming from that. So
we're talking about.
There's finance.
That's right. So we're talking about reporting on data, whatever that may be, not academic itself. We're talking about district-wide.
I like, Alex, kind of where you were saying, which is what you're talking about. Even if you use regularly, because different initiatives, regular is going to mean different. So whatever that means. But even if you're talking about performance and alignment or impact and effectiveness or like What are you looking at? What does the board want to see? If you were to come to one of my data meetings with one of my initiatives, what would you consider? Like, that was a good meeting. Like, you're going to get meat out of that. Like, that's going to help you drive where you're going. Is that, Allison? You seem,
I like the word you just said, impact. Like I would want to know the impact of these initiatives
Mhm.
in the meeting. You know, that would make me know that.
so impact, effectiveness, performance, alignment.
Yeah.
Progress.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that those are my only two feedbacks from that is regularly. I don't know that you have to get more detailed, but do you have an idea what regularly means? Because annually is regular, weekly is regular, and everything in between. Every 5 years is regular, right? Like, so I don't know that you need to get more detailed, but if the board just has an idea, and then reflections to me seems
So
open.
kind of like you alluded to, something like this, you're not setting up a system for one thing.
Mhm.
So when you say regularly, you have quarterly data that you're going to present quarterly. You have progress data on how's that professional development coming that's going to happen more often than quarterly.
Monthly.
And so I think regularly doesn't have to be a bad word because different milestones and different data is going to be presented.
At different times of the year.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about what system can we work through?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What overarching system can we build and work through to make sure that we are putting in checkpoints and reporting?
So I'm gonna bring it back.
I think that helps clarify a lot is what the board is really talking about right now is an overarching system
Yes.
of multi-initiatives.
Yes, so I'm gonna bring that back
Right,
to the
like-
ISO trainings that we did. Evaluating and improving student outcomes. In the ISO trainings, it talks about this. What it identifies it as creating a schedule or a calendar for board reporting throughout the year.
Yeah.
It'll identify in certain months what may be reported on that month, but it creates that cadence of routine, data reporting and reflection. And it doesn't mean it's the same thing every month, but it's that system on how data will be reported to the board throughout the year. That might be what we're trying to say, because they're trying to incorporating more than just academics alone.
Mhm.
Is that?
What about on the,
Connection there?
as long as we're all on the same page, I think that's fine. What about the data reflections part? Does that work for y'all? Do you need more?
I think you said reflections. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean look at it and say, oh, that's where we are? Or does it mean look at it and say, we're on track, we're not on track, or this needs to be done differently? Like, what kind of conclusions, I guess, maybe are coming out of more than reflections?
Data evaluations and recommendations for improvements.
Or
Just recommendations is like, recommend we keep doing what we're doing, recommend we try something different, recommend we look at it and talk about it more, whatever it may be. But I think recommendations is better than reflections because it sounds like you're thinking about a next step versus just looking at it.
Even mind analysis?
Analysis and recommendations.
Well, I was just gonna say that what we're really saying is we need like a standard calendar for checking in on progress of each of these initiatives. And at each point, that's a clear point, but so data really means different things for different initiatives. So I think, and again, reflection, because what we're trying to see is there progress, is there not? So that's kind of the way I'm thinking of.
Actually, no, I kind of like what you just brought up there is maybe really what you're talking about is whatever initiative we're talking about, that there's an actual calendar.
Just know, okay, this is time to be checking on this. This is time to check in on this. Is there progress? Is there not? Doing something different?
And you're not gonna report on everything
Right.
necessarily every month. It's This month, this is focus. This month, this is focus. And that gives time to gather that lead data throughout the year.
I also really like
And
that.
become
It's-
more holistic.
Well, as you're one employee, right? If you say, hey, Newman, whenever you start initiatives, one of the things I want you to bring back in is a calendar of check-ins and performance management, right? Like, what does that look like? That becomes then a system, an expectation, a norm that when we sit down and talk about new initiatives, we actually build that, bring that back in, build it in the board training. Like when you, I don't, for me, just regularly moved into like a calendar, like a structured thing. This is going to be a document, a system thing that you're going to implement with all of that. That to me clears up a whole lot.
I still identified it as a board reporting.
Yeah. Well, but it's even more than that, right? Because it's every initiative.
Right, ready.
Yeah, it's all the initiatives that underneath that. It's Jennifer, what you went through with student engagement, year 1, year 2, year 3, when your check-ins are, when your walk-ins are, what your cadence of walkabouts look like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gather any language there? Okay, how do we want to phrase that? That's what we want to capture. Because I think we've kind of solidified that's going to be our area. How do we want to verbalize that?
So structured calendar for initiative progress. Texts.
Initiative, progress analysis, yeah, data analysis. She's ready.
I said progress, not data. I don't want to.
Progress analysis.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Not that.
I actually know you're that fast. And I like that because whether you're talking about the 6 that we already have
That's it, broad enough to encompass.
or new ones that we bring on, or
That's specific enough to identify what we want to do on a regular basis.
Is that enough, like just developing, or does it need to say utilize or develop and utilize? Because right now we're just saying we just need to develop it, but we don't have to do it. I'm not just being it.
Yeah.
Develop and implement, yeah, I was gonna say develop and implement.
You're not wrong.
yeah,
You are correct.
yeah.
I told them to do this. We're gonna add that in there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Add that in there.
Hope that teacher is concerned.
I want to thank you guys for your focus tonight and your collaboration. This is the routine. We're gonna do it on level.
This worked for y'all.
I feel like we're getting.
It says utilize now. Mark's in the way. Scoot over. Develop and utilize a structured calendar for initiative progress analysis.
This is.
We don't have a number 2.
Six next, which is, finance and, going blank real quick.
Yep, 6 is finance.
Operations, and then level 3, integrated student supports to wrap it up. This is always collaborative work, so we appreciate you very much. We know that we should after a regular board meeting. We're conscientious of that. At the end of the day, we want a Tony's work product. We want a system that's designed for growth here in Rapoport. So we thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next month. All right, y'all have a good one.
Good job, you guys.
See you Thursday.
All right.
I'll have at least one thing.
Oh, I'll be there. I'm
He's been singing.
Yeah. They're working at the chamber, so not even, that's good. I have so many other.
No.
I can even play an instrument.
He's gonna get up and play right there.